3. They bought down to 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of Tampa fans that have bought up at plus the 3.5. So there's no question a 3. We're gonna get sided both ways. We're gonna get middled, and the 3 would be a pretty bad outcome. On a situation with Kansas City winning by 1 or 2, that becomes real interesting. You know, we just took a bet 164,000 to win 100 on Kansas City money line. So
Wow.
you know, if we end up start taking a lot more of the Tampa plus 3, then all of a sudden you have this other potential middle of the 1, 2, and the 3.
Right.
So basically what you're saying is if I rolled up to the window and bet $200, that wouldn't be a big liability for you guys, right? Is that what you're saying?
It depends if you bet the first score being a safety. It might be. You might be getting 2,000 to 1.
So what are some of the biggest bets you've taken on some props that you have? And can you share with us maybe the biggest bet you've taken as a whole, any bet?
Well, yeah, I could tell you prop wise what we're doing here with our deal with the Circus Squares.
Yeah.
It is just ridiculous the amount of tickets that are being written. So I would tell you that would probably be our largest prop. We had an individual come in and he took the fourth quarter. He took all 100 squares at $50 a piece and was a $5,000 prop. Now, people would say, why would someone ever do that? Why would someone ever do that? But here's the thing. I've talked to an awful lot of bar owners around the country and whatnot. And think about how much time it takes. You know, every bar in the country has a board and they're writing things down, and then beer gets spilled. They can't read who won and all that, and who's holding the money. And, you know, it gets a little complicated. So I think what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of guys coming in. They're buying all 100, and then it makes it easy. You know, then they can sell them off at their bar. So I think that's what we're seeing. We've seen a lot of people bet all of the squares, but obviously they have another motive that they're doing something else. I would say you're always going to get a lot of MVP voting. I think it's going to be pretty difficult on the MVP side though to not have Brady or Mahomes win it. I mean, and I only say that because both these teams' offenses are pretty unique. Whichever team wins, I think it's going to be unlikely that their quarterback doesn't win the MVP.
Can I just ask you real quickly about that? Like, do you feel like there are some customers that are betting both quarterbacks? For example, correct me if I'm wrong, but Brady, I think, is somewhere around 2 to 1, and I think Mahomes is close to even money.
Yeah,
so do you feel like some of your customers walk to the window saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to bet both quarterbacks because I believe one of them is going to win. I can't lose that way.
Well, I don't even have to speculate. I can tell you, last night somebody came up to me at Mega Bar and said, I'm betting both quarterbacks.
Right.
And we had a little discussion. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I understand that theory. You know, it's a little bit different if you had a team, let's say in Trent Dilfer was a quarterback or something else like that. You know, that opens up the door on MVP voting, but I just think it's going to be very difficult. You would have to have, Tyreek Hill score 3 touchdowns, 250 points, and Mahomes not complete a pass to anybody else for him to get it. I mean, it's kind of a tougher deal.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people just doing random radio hits asking me, and tonight I was doing one back in D.C., and the host said, is there any value in the MVP market? I said, yeah, I think there actually is, because yesterday I went and played Patrick Mahomes at plus 120 to win MVP. If you like Kansas City, the money line, as you mentioned, is minus 165.
Right.
The probability of the Chiefs winning and Mahomes not getting MVP is pretty low. I mean, think about last year. Mahomes didn't play that well. He played great in the fourth quarter. Damian Williams went off, and they still gave it to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. I just see it hard to see the Chiefs specifically winning and it not being Mahomes.
Yeah, Tim, you got a good price. I mean, it is even now. So I mean, I think that's a very good way to play the game.
I looked it up. I said, wow, plus 120. It was here. You guys got a good price. Yeah. More about the squares, because it is so fascinating. I know you guys prided yourself. You said, let's try to find something unique last year, and you put out the squares. How has the action been this year on those squares compared to last year?
It's last year we put it out there. Hey, let's see if this works.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if we were going to get smoked on this idea and everything,
Right.
But people loved it, and majority of what we wrote was all really in the last 24 hours before kickoff, like Saturday night and then Sunday, and right now I think we're going to exceed all of last year's volume. We'll probably exceed it tonight.
Wow.
So I'm saying that by you look at tomorrow and then Sunday, we'll probably double our square volume, maybe triple. So.
Yeah.
It's just something that's a lot of fun. Everybody likes it, I mean, squares are a lot of fun, but when you can put $10 down on a couple of combinations, you pick your own numbers, and
that's cool.
you're getting on a pretty decent chance. You might be getting 40, 50 to 1, and then it's always fun to have a couple that are a couple thousand to 1.
Right.
So in-game wagering, let's talk a little bit about that. A normal NFL regular season game, right? You can bet the total in-game, you can bet the side, you can bet the first quarter, first half. What extra things are you going to be adding to if anything, to the in-game wagering for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we like to post. We post during commercials. We're going to have a few things I think we're going to add at halftime, but we're going to run our standard in-game product. I mean, and Matt Metcalf, Chris Ben, and I, and Mike Palm, we talked about, well, how is where we stand in the game? How is that going to impact your bias as you're booking the in-game? And last year they didn't put any bias into it, and that's really the plan we're going into this week. If we're long, let's just say we're long $1 million on one side, that's not going to impact their thought process too much on in-game. And in-game, everyone has some different limits, but we are taking some plays, at $100,000 on an in-game, and they're gonna run it straight.
Derek, a question, as Derek Stevens, of course, in with us, owner of the Circa, and should be just an unbelievable weekend here. And we're excited. We've got coverage all day long. Amal Shaw and Mike Palm they're going to be doing the halftime show up at Stadium Swim. So forget the weekend. We got Palm and we got the crew of the Nuts.
Yeah, think about this. I mean, the Nuts just finished their second week here with the Nuts, and then I got the call. Mike Palm asked me to be on his halftime show. It's the first time I'm going to be able to be a part of the Nuts, so I was pretty honored about that. And then I heard the backstory, of course in Stadium Swim, we're going to, and in the sports book, we're going to be playing the halftime show of the weekend.
Right.
But I hear well, maybe they'll get Derek on, maybe we're going to put Visa on instead of playing the weekend over there. I don't think that'd fly. We'll be playing the weekend up there, but yeah, I get to go on that show a little bit, so I'm excited about that and see how they evaluate the first half, and obviously this is going to be a record year overall in this country for wagering.
No question.
It is going to blow everything away. I'm a little less comfortable when I hear about the TV ratings. You hear on Monday, and whether ratings are up or down. I question a little bit of how this data is collected.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, there is no question. There's going to be more eyeballs watching this game than there ever have been in this country. Whether it's on your device or you're on a big screen, or there's going to be more people watching, and there's going to be more wagering than's ever happened before.
If you're the NFL, I don't think you could ask for a better matchup. I don't think there's any question about that. I think it's going to be an incredible game to watch. Since you're a Detroit guy at heart, right, I have to ask you about your boy Stafford, who just left the Lions. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? And did you think it was the right move for the Lions, the right move for Stafford? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like Matt Stafford quite a bit, and I think the general Detroit Lions fan thinks very fondly of Matt Stafford. I think there's going to be some similarity, obviously at a different level, but I think you're going to see some Patriot fans that are going to be rooting for Tampa just because of their respect or their love for Tom Brady. I think you're going to see some Lions fans that turn into Rams fans as well, because people really like Stafford. They liked his wife, Kelly, what they did in the community. At the same point, the Detroit Lions have won one playoff game in my lifetime. Now, I'm not as old as 1955,
really
but 1955, they won it all. But, 1955 is long time ago, and Matt Stafford has never won a playoff game. So did I think it was a good trade? Yeah, I'm excited about it because I thought the haul was pretty good. You pick up a third, you pick up 2 first-round picks, and you do pick up a starting quarterback. You do have a starting quarterback. I think it's probably a good move to get Goff out of L.A., and I like the trade.
Derek, we always appreciate your time. I know you'll be stopping by the studio on Sunday. It's going to be an unbelievable day, and should be a hell of a weekend.
Yeah, thanks guys for what you're doing and keeping everybody informed. This is going to be a great Super Bowl.
That's Derek Stevens. It's gonna be a great Super Bowl. We got a lot going on Friday night. Clippers and Celtics just tipped off. I got, of course, a sweat going on just a little north of here in Reno. So we'll stick around here. It's the Nightcap on VSiN. Thanks again to Derek Stevens for stopping by, and some great stuff there from Derek. And yeah, it's gonna be a wild weekend. I know it's certainly unusual, but it'll be it should be a lot of fun. And just a reminder, and we'll be reminding you. Sunday, wall-to-wall coverage leading up to Super Bowl 50. It doesn't stop there. In-game live with Gil Alexander and Matt Brown, Danielle Alvari. It's gonna be great. Follow the money. Will be right after the Super Bowl. So VSiN.com. Listen live on the VSiN app for free. Brian Shapiro is in the house today.
Sir.
And fired up to do the show with Brian tonight. And let's just look at what's going on tonight. And not a huge college basketball slate, but still we will keep an eye on what is taking place. You and I going against each other a little bit.
That we are.
Now, you know, this wasn't the hardiest of plays by me, but I said, you know, I am one who likes to take the points from time to time. Nevada at home tonight, taking on Boise State. This is a conference that you know very well in the Mountain West. And right now, under 12 timeout, 10:33 to go. Nevada, a 4.5-point dog. It is a close one, 50-47, hovering right around that number. Boise State has that 3-point lead.
Two very good coaches, obviously Steve Alford and Leon Rice. UNR just coming off two big wins for them against UNLV. Not a very good team in UNLV, but it's an in-state rival. And Boise State's playing some pretty good basketball as well. I think this one's going down to the wire. Two coaches that I respect very much, and of course Boise State vying for one of the top spots in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, and that really is the biggest college hoop game in action right now. And we'll get to some of the finals. An important one in the Big Ten earlier today. Didn't make our producer, Aaron Oster, very happy with the Terps of Maryland taking on Penn State. The biggest game on the NBA slate tonight, Clippers and Boston. And, Brian, this is a spot where Boston, without a ton of their integral pieces, and an early lead here for the Clippers. You were on the Clippers, the home favorite here. Yes. Did you lay the 5 with the Clippers?
I believe I got them at a worse number than that. I got it at 7. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I got a bad number, I guess, but I got that one last night. Brown is out. Marcus Smart is out. We don't know how healthy Kemba Walker is. He's playing, some pretty good minutes now. That's a lot of pressure on Tatum, and I love Tatum, I love the Celtics. I grew up a Celtics fan, but I had to bet against them tonight. They just don't have the offense tonight, in my personal opinion, to get it done. Yeah,
and you look at their starting lineup: Tristan Thompson, Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, Daniel Tice, and Kemba Walker tonight. And everyone's favorite, Peyton Pritchard, just got a bucket there for the Boston Celtics. So an 8-point lead here for the Clippers early in the first quarter. And the Clippers just hit a 3, so it's a 20-9 situation. Other NBA game going on right now, the Phoenix Suns hosting the Detroit Pistons, and the Suns laying 8 in this spot. Looked like the public going to back the home team in this one, 63-50 right now. The Suns have a 13-point lead over the Pistons.
I'm kicking myself because I feel like Phoenix is going to win this one by 20. I was going to take Phoenix last night. I laid off it, even though I just think Detroit, I don't want to upset Derek Stevens, but the Pistons are not very good. So Phoenix clicking on all cylinders right now, looking like they're going to cover the number.
Yeah, and the Pistons, they were a team. I didn't want to play too many totals in the NBA, just the volatility, unpredictability. But I felt like the bad teams were going to be really bad, and the Pistons were one of them. Yeah. Really, just no future there. 5-16 right now on the season, 1-9 on the road, and catching 8 on the road tonight in Phoenix, trailing by 13. That one early in the third quarter. Really spread out scoring. If you were into the props tonight for the Suns, Devin Booker over-under was 23.5, only 8 points right now. Chris Paul was 15.5. He's only with 7. So they've really spread out the scoring so far, but plenty of time to go there with the Suns leading by 13 over the Pistons. NHL tonight, this is a sight to everyone here in Las Vegas. The VGK, the Golden Knights, back in action.
Yes.
First time since January 26th.
That's right.
And the Golden Knights, as I looked at the odds board, Brian, no surprise here, were bet up.
Of course.
They were opened minus 225 on the money line, got bet up here at Circa to minus 259. And how about this start for the Golden Knights? Up 3-0
in the first period.
In the first period against the LA Kings.
Couldn't ask for a better start. Little strange, to bet on a team that hasn't played in almost a few weeks. I wish I did, quite frankly.
Right?
The public was right on this one.
Yeah.
Looking like the Knights are going to come away with this one, even though it's still early in the first period.
And even here at Circa, you had to lay some juice with the Knights on the puck line, minus 103. There were some spots in town at even money, but a good start for the Knights in their first action since January 26th, a 3-0 lead. We're just getting started. It's the Nightcap here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. wrapping up the first week of the Nightcap, and we like to welcome all our new viewers, listeners, and while you're here, take a minute, folks, to start your free trial of an all-access VSiN subscription. March Madness is right around the corner, and the football betting season does not slow down even after the big game with free agency, the quarterback carousel, and the NFL draft. Of course, our experts are handicapping games in every sport every day, so you have an edge all year round. VSiN gives you everything you need to improve your sports betting IQ with daily insights and analysis. So sign up now to get our daily emails with the best bets from our hosts and guests, 24/7 video streaming, and our Point Spread Weekly betting guides. Check out our all membership options starting at just $3.99 per month. That's at vsin.com/subscribe to start your free trial today. Tim Murray and Brian Shapiro with you tonight on the Nightcap live from the Circa. It was great to have Derek Stevens come in studio. One of my favorite guests breaking down football is Warren Sharp, and he's going to join us in 10 minutes. Last year, Warren, on set with me, said Kyle Juszczyk for first touchdown, and wouldn't you know it, he scored the Ravens' first touchdown. I think that was 20-1 on some shot. I think 20-1 for Ravens' first touchdown. He did not score the game's first touchdown, which I think I got burned on. But he's great, and he'll break down the game with us and some edges that he sees. I've read through his extensive Super Bowl preview. It's incredible. And Warren will join us, one of the best out there. Tony Miller to come later on in the show. A little look behind the counter at the Golden Nugget. And our own James Salinas will join us as well as the show goes on. So, Brian, just an update on the game that, you know, I swear this is going to be just like pulling teeth. This Boise State-Nevada game, which, you know,
Good game.
For a Friday night, you know, we'll take it. This is a competitive game. Every time I feel like Nevada's home catching 4.5, so I took the points. No surprise there for our viewers who know, you know, home team catching points. It's intriguing to me, but look, this wasn't a play that I loved because I really like this Boise State team. You've talked about them. You took a little bite at the apple on the Broncos as well. And this has been this back and forth, really strong offensive play here in the second half.
Two well-coached teams, right? And you know, when we get two really good coaches, and I think on paper, Boise State is certainly the better team. I mean, you just look at that; they're just better. But they're on the road. UNR is playing some good basketball. As I mentioned, they're coming off of two big wins against UNLV. They're getting better. When you look at these two teams in the future, I think UNR looks really good. And when you look at what Steve Alford did with New Mexico in the Mountain West Conference, I can absolutely see him doing the same thing with this Nevada-Reno team. No doubt about that. And Leon Rice has done a great job at Boise State. The only problem with Boise is they don't win games in March. They lose those big games in March. But really impressed with both of these teams. They both these teams play very hard. As I said, very well coached. The only reason why I played Boise State is I thought Nevada-Reno would have a little bit of a letdown after those two big games against UNLV. Yeah, and then they swept UNLV, crushed them in the first game, and second game down at the half, but ultimately came back and won and covered earlier this week. So we'll keep an eye on that one. 6 and change to go up in Reno, and it's a 62-58 game with a bucket there, 62-60. So a little opposite there. Well, like most Fridays, not the best slate out there, except last Friday we saw Illinois and Iowa, which was one of arguably the best college basketball games we've witnessed this season. Big Ten tonight, Penn State laying a short number at home, and this had a bubblicious feel to it. Penn State's one of those teams, Brian, that has, you know, the big win last weekend, beating Wisconsin, getting on the radars, and even at 7-8, really not that far out of the NCAA tournament, just because this is such a unique year. And Penn State gets the win. Ugly game, but they get the win. They get the cover. They beat Maryland tonight by a final 55-50. I think Penn State is a perfect example of a lot of college basketball teams during this pandemic start off a little slow, struggle a little bit. They're hitting their stride now, and I think we're seeing what this team can do. You mentioned the big win they had last week, and Penn State, that was a game I was actually thinking of playing today, but Penn State, no doubt about it, the last week or two, playing their best basketball this season. Yeah, Maryland is just one of the most confusing teams in the country, and I even think our producer, Maryland superfan, Maryland alum Aaron Oster would agree. I mean, they've got great wins on the road against Minnesota, holding Minnesota to 49 at the Barn, a place they thrive offensively, beating Illinois on the road, beating Wisconsin on the road.
and they've got some head-scratching results too. So I don't know what to do with Maryland. 10-9, very much on the bubble. So that'll be an interesting team to keep an eye on. Brian, let's look ahead. Look over to the NBA.
Sure.
The Bucks earlier today laying a pretty big number. They get it home against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is a Bucks team. Look, I know it's the Cavs, but it's still a team that last weekend was just terrible. You know, you lose to the Pelicans, you lose to the Hornets, and now the Bucks dominate the Blazers 134-106 earlier this week. Destroy the Pacers 130-110. And now a comfortable win on the road as a 11-point favorite 123-105. I don't want to say finding their stride, but they got in a little bit of a rut, and now here come the Bucks. They're starting to warm up a bit.
Just a lot of inconsistencies with this team. You see them as being one of the favorites to win the East, and then you watch them lay an egg against some of these teams where they have no business losing these games. Just a lot of inconsistency. But you know what? We've seen that with the Bucks in the last couple of years in the playoffs. We've seen inconsistent play. This is the same Bucks team. They haven't changed. Regular season, they're going to lose to teams they shouldn't lose to, and then they're going to take care of teams. And just day to day, it's just a team that I stay away from.
Yeah.
From a betting perspective, I never know what we're going to see.
Sometimes with the Bucks, I don't like laying big numbers, but they're the team. They kind of bully you. They don't mess around. They'll dominate you if you're inferior. We saw that tonight. They pulled away in the fourth quarter, outscoring the Cavaliers by 13 in that fourth quarter. Giannis did hit his over tonight, 27.5 points. He had 33, so a big game for Giannis, 33 and 12. A couple other finals. By the way, we're keeping you updated on Clippers and the Celtics. I know Brian's on Clips.
Yep.
Got the bad number, but hey, it's only a bad number if it doesn't come home.
I'm a little angry. It went down to 5.
5, yeah.
I got screwed.
Clippers still up 8, though, 27-19, 2:48 to go there. The Heat, after losing to the Wizards, they take out their they get mad.
That's revenge.
Yeah, that
was a revenge game.
Revenge spot there for the Clippers, or excuse me, for the Heat, as they just destroy they destroy the Wizards.
What do you think about that?
Wizards, 122
What
to
do you think
95.
about that Heat team? You know, I was going to ask you about that, Tim, because they've had some COVID issues, obviously, as you know. But that's a team that could hit their stride and be a tough out in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, it could be a buy low spot. I need it. You know, this is a team, too. The Lakers have LeBron, man, and he's a different beast than anyone else. You can the eye's always on the prize. Miami gets this unexpected run, right, to the finals. Thinking back, they should have been a team to fade early on in this year. But a big win tonight for Miami as a 7-point favorite. They win 122-95. NFL props with the one and only Warren Sharp. Next, right here on the Nightcap. nightcap continues here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Super Bowl 55 coming up on Sunday. Brian Shapiro riding shotgun today. Tim Murray, and we've got ourselves a pretty good one up in Reno tonight. Boise State leading now by 2 with 3:15 and change to go. Nevada catching 4.5 at home. I'm on the Wolfpack. Brian's on the Broncos, but we look ahead to Super Bowl 55. One of my favorite guests, always love picking his brain, and it is Warren Sharp at Sharp Football, sharpfootballanalysis.com. And Warren, we were joking off air. You know, last year, this time, you and me and a couple others of my old colleagues on the show that I did back in D.C., the Daily Line, we were sitting having a couple cocktails. So I wish we were doing that down in Tampa right now. But you know what? Not a bad consolation prize to chat with you on the phone on a Friday night.
No, there's no doubt. Happy to talk with you guys. Definitely would have rather been in Tampa grabbing some drinks like you mentioned. But, hey, we'll make the best of what we got.
So I was reading through your guide, and it is unbelievable. And it's not too late, folks. SharpFootballAnalysis.com. Make sure you head there. It is as in-depth as you could imagine. And reading through it, one thing really jumped out at me, at least in the prop market when it came to Tampa Bay, and it was the tight ends. So after reading through, I looked at Cameron Brate. I found a 3 over-under receptions. And you know, break down what you've analyzed with this Chiefs defense and maybe some things that the Buccaneers can potentially exploit.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities against the Kansas City defense because they're so good at the perimeter. Number one, their cornerbacks, we're probably not going to get a lot of flags for this, but there should be. They hold a ton. Their corners grab. Tony Romo was talking about the last game covering against the Dolphins. Wow, these guys got such sticky coverage. Yeah, that's because they're holding all the time. They do a great job of slowing down perimeter wide receivers. But where these guys struggle, where the weak point in the defense is inside. It's the tight ends that are running inside routes. It's the slot wide receivers. It's the running backs out of the backfield. And specifically discussing the tight ends, this is exactly their weak point. They're one of the worst defenses in the NFL against tight ends. It's one of the reasons why, if you look back over the game logs, you can see Rob Gronkowski had a massive game last time he played the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's gone silent a little bit of late. But there was this flare-up to a back injury that we saw Thursday at practice. Actually, it was Wednesday at practice for Cam Brate. Thursday at practice, he was limited. Friday, today, he did not practice with this back injury. Now, I have Cam Brate at pretty good odds to score the first touchdown for the Bucs and to score an anytime touchdown because they're really bad inside the red zone. But I actually started shifting some things over to Rob Gronkowski a little bit. I took Rob Gronkowski over 15.5 for his longest reception here. Rob Gronkowski lines up in line very frequently, which is at the end of the line of scrimmage, right next to one of the tackles in a three-point stance. And that is the weak point of this Kansas City defense. They cannot cover tight ends that are aligned in line. That's why Gronkowski had a big game the last time that these two teams met. If you're going for a prop on Gronk, yeah, you can go touchdown route. You can go catches route. I actually just prefer longest reception over 15.5. So that's in my portfolio right now.
So, Warren, when you looked at all these props when they first came out, even the number opening up at -3, was there anything that stood out to you where you said, wow, that number doesn't make any sense at all?
Well, you know, on the game side in total, it wasn't a whole lot. And I thought the total was extremely high. Did take a little dabble on under 57 way back Sunday night when it first opened up. But, you know, the limits were small, and I never added to that position whatsoever. I don't really feel in love with that position. What I did is I added a little bit to the second half being higher scoring than the first half, because I do think that it's not the feeling out process that I'm worried about. What I think is going to happen in this game is you're going to see Andy Reid have shorter dropbacks for Patrick Mahomes early because the offensive line, with the protection and the amount of different pieces that are being jumbled up due to injuries, they're not going to want to send Patrick Mahomes on his deep dropbacks right away at the beginning of the game. So shorter passes, shorter dropbacks. And then on on Tampa's side, I think we're going to see that first down running that I've become I hate seeing it because it forces them into so many third downs. It's so inefficient. But they're going to call it. And if they're not losing on the scoreboard, which they won't be when the game first starts, then they're going to be free to call as many first down runs as they want to and try to convert on third down. But from a prop that stood out to me that I thought, hey, this prop does not look right, it was Leonard Fournette, over 3.5 catches. I took it at -120 when I first was able to get a piece of it. I think it's up to like 45 or 50 cents right now. I still think it presents value, primarily because we're mispricing this running back for two reasons. Number one, Tom Brady's affinity to throw the football to running backs, especially in big games, and the game flow of the Bucs of late has been they've been in the lead, so they haven't had to throw the football quite as much. But if they fall behind at any point in this game, they will have to turn a little bit more to the pass. And then simply what his production has been of late. We think that, well, they got Ronald Jones, and they also have Leonard Fournette, and so there's a couple backs in the backfield. They do not throw the football to Ronald Jones. They don't trust him. His prop total, we buried that so heavily on his yardage that they ended up pulling it off the board. It was like 10.5. It's now off the board at most spots. You can bet him over a half a reception now. That's about all they're willing to hang on that. But I like Leonard Fournette even better than that one to go over the 3.5 catches. I went back and looked at like the game log of Tom Brady. Anytime he's lost in the playoffs in the last like 8 or 9 years, and any games that he's been down, even games that they've been trailing at any point in time. And the targets that they throw to running backs, just the targets in general, are ridiculous. We're talking about double-digit targets in almost 5 or 6 straight games. And we're talking catches, double-digit catches by these running backs. 10 catches, 10 catches, 10 catches, 15 catches. I mean, it's absurd, the running back target rate that Brady has when his team is trailing. Leonard Fournette leads this team in catches the last 2 weeks. They've got Mike Evans, they've got Chris Godwin, they've got Antonio Brown, they've got Rob Gronkowski, and yet Leonard Fournette leads the team in catches. So I think that's a really strong prop. I thought that prop should have been at least 4.5. I'm happy they put it at 3.5. That was one of the first ones I gravitated towards.
Yeah, and it opened here at Circa at least 3.5 over even money as we talked to Warren Sharp at Sharp Football on Twitter, sharpfootballanalysis.com. We were joking in the break. It was the ultimate great call by Warren and the ultimate bad beat by me last Super Bowl Sunday, because Warren's on set. He's telling us why, Kyle Shanahan, he's going to want to look at the fullback, utilize Kyle Juszczyk, and I'm sitting there on Super Bowl Sunday. I've got a long prop on Juszczyk to score the game's first touchdown, and I didn't play both. He had such long odds, I should have played both, no-brainer. He scores the 49ers' first touchdown, which I still think was like 20-1. Warren looks like a genius. I'm the idiot who did not play both on that one. But, Warren, I got to go back to the well. I don't know, is the Cameron Brate anytime touchdown the prop that that's the juiciest to you for Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, I'm trying to give as many as I possibly can here. I think the one, it's not necessarily juicy, so in terms of like a pure long odds one, I would have to go with most rushing yards, Ronald Jones at plus 275. That's one that I like that has some pretty long odds. Mm-hmm. But I also like the Cameron Brate first Bucs touchdown. That was at, I think, 14-1 when I got it. I have no clue what it is right now. And I got it before he injured his back. So mm-hmm. I'm a little bit leery. Adam Schefter comes out and says tonight, well, it looks like he's going to be okay. They were just doing it precautionary. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's older than 25, 30 years old knows that when you hurt your back, it can flare up and you could wake up out of bed and it's tight. So I don't really have confidence in a back injury. So I'm a little bit leery with that one. The prop that I like just a second ago, the Leonard Fournette one, you have to lay a little bit on it, but that one is my favorite. That's the one I'll pound the table on. But if you want to go for a longer shot one, I think a Cam Brate first touchdown or this Ronald Jones to have the most rushing yards in the game. Those are a couple.
All right, so Warren, I have to test you here. Being the analytical guy that you are, and you're certainly smarter than I, in like 20 or 30 seconds, can you break down whether somebody should bet heads or tails? Are you capable of doing that?
I would, I could tell you very quickly. Do not bet anything where you have to lay more than even money on.
Yes.
Like that, it's a pure coin flip. So if they're asking you even minus 101, don't do it. It's amazing. I see the amount of bets, the most popular bets and the most amount of money on these props. And inevitably, 2 of the first 4 most heavily bet props are the coin toss, heads or tails. It's ludicrous to me.
Yeah, I've been telling people all week, Warren, go find a friend who likes heads if you like tails, or go find a friend who likes heads if you like tails. There's even money. Eliminate the middleman. Hey, Warren, we only got a couple minutes left, and there's so much we want to we could hit on. And if you haven't checked out his Super Bowl guide, sharpfootballanalysis.com. Anything on the quarterbacks in this game that intrigues you? And I know a lot of people, and I have to imagine, for the most part, especially the Chiefs, you being as analytical as you are, you got to like their going for it mentality. The total of punts, I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Is 6.5 too high for the punts, in your opinion?
It does feel a little bit too high. I did not attack that prop. What I instead did is I looked at two things. I took Tampa Bay third down conversions over 5.5 at plus money.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons I did that is because they run so much on first down, that puts them into too many third downs. And Tom Brady had to take a ton of third down conversions, even in the first drive against the Green Bay Packers last week, to move the ball down the field. So I feel like they're going to be in a fair number of third downs. And in order to have a chance in the game, I think they're going to convert more than 5.5. But then you can also add, will Tampa Bay convert a fourth down? Now you have to lay more. I got the third down conversions at plus 25. Here I laid 35 cents on fourth down, but inevitably they're not going to convert on a third down. So you're going to have one less that you gained on that one, but now you got a chance to go for it on fourth down. So I think both of these teams need to be aggressive. You do not beat the Kansas City Chiefs unless you somehow shut down Patrick Mahomes like no other team has done. You don't beat them with punts or with field goals. You can't end drives with kicks. You got to end drives either going for it on fourth down and failing or scoring touchdowns.
Warren, you're the best, man. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will catch up, no doubt about it, down the road. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Warren.
Hey, thanks, fellas. Enjoy the game.
There he is. Warren Sharp will relitigate some of his thoughts in the next hour. A lot of prop action and an update on what's happening in Reno. It's coming down to the wire. No overtime. It's the Nightcap on VSiN. and I won't say gambling gods. I don't want to do that. No karma. We got a big gambling day coming up. I'm not trying to get any bad mojo out there, but they listen. No overtime in Reno, and I don't like having a grumpy co-host for a little bit.
I'm not grumpy. As long as the Celtics don't cover, I'll be okay today. But I got to say, that was a good play you made on UNR. Impressive win, by the way. By the way, last second shot, Boise had a chance to win. That was around the toilet bowl. That should have gone in. That's a great basketball game. I got it. That's a good game. Good fought. Well-fought Mountain West Conference game.
Yeah, Nevada gets the win, 74-72. Really was. Rajay Dennis, his three-pointer at the buzzer, no good. Grant Sherfield with a step back on Nevada's last offensive possession. So Nevada comes home as a dog tonight, plus 4.5, and Moneyline outright winner. And a nice, entertaining game on a Friday night here, and like you said, this was a spot I needed to bounce back. I had some ugly NEC plays earlier today.
NEC, I went to Central Connecticut State University, which is a very small D1 school.
Blue Devils.
The different Blue Devils. I don't even like to call them the Blue Devils. I have to say this, though. Donyell Marshall, of course, you remember him at UConn, and of course, had a good NBA career. They have to let him go. Central Connecticut is just an embarrassing game.
You heard it here first. We're calling for Central Connecticut State's coach on VSiN. If you had Nevada, if you felt comfortable in the Wolf Pack, remember a space between Wolf and Pack, plus 175 on the money line. Nevada gets the win, 74-72 tonight. Really entertaining basketball game here on a Friday. Now let's get to the NBA, and you are on the Celtics tonight. This game went off.
I'm on the Clippers.
The Clippers tonight.
Don't jinx me.
That's
please.
A good thing.
Don't jinx me.
The Clippers, a 53-40 lead right now, with about 4 and change to go in the second half. So the Clippers owning a 13-point lead in that one. The other game going on in the NBA at this moment in time, the Phoenix Suns, a 13-point lead, 87-74, 10:15 to go. Suns laying 8 in this spot. Was actually bet down, open 9.5, bet down to 8, and the Phoenix Suns as the home favorite leading by 13 here.
I could certainly see a backdoor cover there. It's not out of the question. There's a lot of time to go in that game. The NBA is just so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so strange. I mean, you could see teams go on 8, 10, 12-0 runs like it's nothing. Even a bad team like Detroit goes on runs.
Well, case in point last night. Now, they're not a bad team, but the Lakers were down 12 at the break to the Nuggets, and I was kicking myself on air last night saying, man, I looked at the Nuggets. They seemed like an intriguing dog, getting 5 against the Lakers after a 7-game road trip. Lakers mopped the floor with the Nuggets in the second half.
But don't you get the feeling with the Lakers is that LeBron and Davis and those guys, when they need to turn it on, they just turn it on.
Yeah, and LeBron had one of those games last night. We had his prop. We had a prop sheet up, and, Doug Kazarian of ESPN, we were texting back and forth last night. He said, this might be one of those spots where LeBron wants to show the world, you think Nikola Jokic is the MVP? It's my time. Over in points, over in rebounds, over in assists, triple doubles, plus 600.
You watch some games where if I had any hair on the top of my head, I would pull it out, but I don't. But, I watch some games where LeBron's playing games that I'll take the Lakers, and I say, why didn't he take the shot? He just wants to get his teammates involved. And then I see other games where I feel like he just scores at will. He can take the ball to the basket, draw contact anytime he wants to. And you're right, that was one of those games where he just took control.
Couple hockey games going on right now. Early second period, San Jose, a lead over Anaheim right now. San Jose went off as a minus 112 favorite in this game. They lead 1-0. And VGK back on the ice for the first time since January 26th. A minus 259 favorite here at the Circa.
Yeah.
Even you had to lay on the puck line here at Circa, minus 103. Doesn't seem to be an issue as no rust, at least tonight. 4-0 Knights in the early second period.
Fleury has been on fire at the start of the year. Obviously, we know what the Knights have been through the last couple of weeks with COVID, but I said it at the beginning of the year. I'm even more of a strong opinion about it now. I believe the Knights are the best team in the NHL. I'm not saying that because I live here in Las Vegas. I truly believe that. They're defensively, they've made some great additions to this team. They probably have the best 1-2 punch goaltending in the league.
And let's get a little reset here. Keep it rolling on a Friday night, Friday before the Super Bowl. It's the Nightcap. That's Brian Shapiro. Tim Murray with you live from the Circa, VSiN.com, the iHeart app, wherever you can listen. We appreciate it on a Friday night. The Clippers right now, 58-44 lead over the Boston Celtics. Someone on this set, not named Tim Murray, is on the Clippers, and that would be my partner in crime tonight. That is Brian Shapiro. And you know what? I want you to have a winner because,
Thank you.
Well, you had a loser with Boise State.
I appreciate that. That was a good play.
Nevada coming home, and when in doubt, just reach out to the Mountain West aficionado, that is Matt Humans, and you kind of get the wink of approval. I said, Nevada plus 4.5. He said, I played it. I said, I'm in. So first inclination, and Nevada comes home. Outright win for the Wolfpack tonight, 74-72. Really, really good game up in Reno
That
tonight.
could also be a preview for the Mountain West Conference Tournament. I could actually see maybe Boise playing a team like Nevada in the quarterfinals of the tournament. That's also a possibility. Very competitive conference this year.
Yeah.
You've got 4 teams that are vying for the number 1 spot in conference. So I'm actually excited as things get towards March what the Mountain West Conference Tournament's going to look like.
Colorado State, too.
Very good.
Not a bad team there.
Yep.
We were on Wyoming the other night. And remember, this is your zigzag opportunity. Boise State back at it, not tomorrow, the next day. That's the Mountain West. That's how they've been doing a day off in between. But it's been an interesting case study this year with that zigzag. I think some people assume automatically fire, and like everything, teams coming off a COVID break don't automatically. It's so challenging.
So let me ask you this, Tim. So the spread, I got 4, you got 4.5. Do you think that the number moves at all, or do you think it opens up at the exact same number?
I think it opens up the exact same number,
Yeah.
and I think what we saw tonight, and it was back and forth. Nevada really trailed. It was right around that number, 3-4, the majority of that second half.
Boise was up a possession or two for most of the game. Yep.
And it felt like Boise, the way that they were playing, it felt like they had an answer to everything that Nevada was putting out there. I would look to back the Broncos come Sunday.
Again, Leon Rice will make some adjustments. He's a really good basketball coach, and Boise State still, in my personal opinion, is the better team. With that being said, I'm going to stay away. I'm going to stay away from it after what I saw tonight. UNR, they're shooting the ball really well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making shots. They're making big shots. And just a really good college basketball game tonight. It's good to see these Mountain West Conference teams playing these type of competitive games. There's a couple teams in conference that are just awful. San Jose State is just terrible. There's a few teams. Air Force is not very good.
Well, New Mexico's called it a season.
New Mexico's a joke.
They said.
Yeah, they're.
And I honestly, not do we have to go too deep on the Lobos here on a Friday night, but for New Mexico, you're playing. You're not allowed to play in your state.
Yeah.
The football team we know it was a rough go of it this year.
And I like Coach Weir.
Yeah.
I like him, but you're right. They've had a lot of obstacles. They got a lot of big men on the Lobos team. Again, not to dive deep into the
Right.
Lobos, but they have a lot of skilled big men, but they just need to develop a little bit.
Yeah, Boise State and this rematch will be right before the Super Bowl. So your little appetizer, Nevada, Boise State, that one 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, FS1 on Sunday. So right before kickoff of the Super Bowl. Let's get to the Super Bowl. We had Warren Sharp on. Tremendous analysis there from Warren Sharp. And he said his favorite play was Leonard Fournette over receptions. He said now it's been driven up. You still have to pay the juice. He said he still would do it. He would lay the juice. So keep that in mind. If you can get a 3.5. And that's one thing that I read, in his breakdown of the game. And, unfortunately for me and for Warren, which is that Cameron Brate dealing with this back injury, it might be an opportunity to look at Gronk a little bit. But Cameron Brate has been a guy that has been targeted a ton by Tom Brady in this postseason. And then you go back to the last time these two teams met. Cameron Brate was targeted 6 times. Ron Gronkowski had a huge game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So he loves Fournette catching the ball out of the backfield, and he also is a big fan of the tight ends for Sunday as well.
I've looked at some of those props, especially with Gronkowski and receptions, and I'm taking the over on that as well. I agree, and I am not going to go against a guy who hit a 20-1 last year. That's pretty incredible. So smart guy, and I'm certainly going what he put forward.
Let's take a look at some of the props, and you've got some interesting crossover props, some crossover sports that we'll do that later on towards the bottom of the hour, and we'll keep an eye on this Clippers game as well, as the Clippers take a 60-47 lead. Clippers went off as a 5.5 point favorite against the Boston Celtics tonight, a shorthanded Boston Celtics team, but some plays that intrigued me on the prop side. Cameron Brate, I played it here at Circa. Cameron Brate over 3 receptions, the juice -115. Once again, keep an eye on the injury situation, but I felt like with the weakness that the Chiefs have in the middle of the field, I like Cameron Brate over 3 receptions -115.
I like that one as well. I'm with you on that one. I got a couple Tom Brady's I'll ask you about.
Let's
here.
do it.
What will Tom Brady throw first? Touchdown pass or interception? Interception, you're getting a lot of plus money, plus 265. I know -320 is a big number to lay, but I just can't see Tom Brady throwing an interception like in the first or second quarter. I could be wrong on that. But then on the other side of things, you can also bet, will Tom Brady throw an interception the entire game? I say yes. I say that happens in the second half.
Okay.
I don't think that happens in the first half. Now, the yes is a very reasonable number. You're laying -140. What do you think about those two?
Yeah, I mean, you look at how last weekend unfolded, and he got out just firing against Green Bay, and right down the field, what an impressive drive. Right down the field, Mike Evans touchdown, corner of the end zone. But at -140 on the yes prop, I think that is
good price,
an
right?
Intriguing price there to play for Tom Brady to throw an interception. And I tend to agree. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't play either one of those with the prop. Will it be a touchdown or an interception first? But I get the intrigue. You know, people are going to be firing on the yes prop there, and that's going to be the fascinating thing about Super Bowl Sunday, right?
Sure.
Is people see the plus prices, on there. Will there be a safety? Will there be a 2-point conversion converted? Will there be a mixed extra point? They see the plus price, and they're going to put $20-$30 on it, and that's the way it's going to go. So yeah, I don't disagree. I think Tom Brady, potential of rain. Actually, it's expected to rain. So I think the yes prop on an interception is likely.
I mean, I could see both quarterbacks throwing an interception. I just don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen in the first half.
Yeah, the first half. This is another bet that I played, which is under 27.5 points in the first half. I was at the South Point earlier today. This went down to 27. I know Matt Holt, who's been sitting in this week in your chair, he likes this play as well. I just have the feel, historically, I think a lot of people have recognized the trend that Tom Brady gets off to slow starts in Super Bowls, just 3 points.
Well, both teams usually get off to slow starts too. I mean, I was reading a stat where I think 2 of the last 10 Super Bowls, they didn't even get to 10 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're exactly right. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen on Sunday, and we can dive a little bit more deep into that. But yeah, I'm with you on that for the first half. I don't see both quarterbacks going crazy in the first half. I think the second half over might be the play.
Yeah, and for the Chiefs part of it, Chiefs historically, at least in recent years, right, they get off to slow starts. Look at the AFC Championship game. Look back to last year's AFC Championship game. And then they put it on the throttle. I mean, and that's when it comes down to the Chiefs, if you like the Chiefs but don't want to lay minus $1.60 on the money line or don't want to lay the 3, I know everyone wants to have a pre-flop position because it's the Super Bowl. Well, if you like the Chiefs, I would look in game, see how it's developing, because this Chiefs team has proven, Brian, that really, I won't say no deficit is insurmountable, but it really, like at no point in the AFC Championship, even after Mecole Hardman botches the punt and it's 9-0, at no point did I really feel like the Bills were going to win that game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And you mentioned in-game. I think something else that can't be overemphasized enough is hedging using in-game. I mean, that's, for example, you say you're playing under 27.5 in the first half total. What if they got, I don't know, 20, let's just say 25 points up there or 24 points up there, and the in-game is 28 or 29, whatever the case may be. It makes you think a little bit, okay, should I go the other way? Obviously, you don't want to middle yourself, But if you have an opportunity to middle by a couple points, 2 or 3 points, and you feel like it's a coin flip at that point, I can't even begin to tell you how much money I've saved by hedging in games. I mean, and sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you can catch a middle. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the kickers for a little bit.
All right, let's do it.
Let's talk about Ryan Suckup a little bit here. So total points by him, the over/under there is 8.5. The under is -130. I kind of like the under in this game. If you're one of those people that thinks there's probably not going to be a lot of field goals, just a lot of extra points, then you probably like the under there, right?
Yeah, because think about it. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers score 31, that's an under. So I think, and as Warren Sharp mentioned, I think a lot of us have that feeling, Brian, is that this is going to be the type of game where Bruce Arians is going to recognize we're not beating the Kansas City Chiefs without scoring touchdowns.
Right.
And they've been ultra aggressive. So, yeah, I tend to agree. I think this game is trending under. Warren even mentioned it. A lot of people, this opened 57.5, and the wise guys were quick on that. Boom, took to 57.5, took to 57, took to 56.5. Is now sitting at 56.
Right.
So the under has been the play for the sophisticated better out there. The public's obviously going to play the over in this spot with these two offenses. But, I don't disagree, because I think the mindset of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should and will be, we need touchdowns. So 8 or 8.5?
8.5 right now. And speaking of field goals, the over-under that I have, 112.5 as far as the total yardage of field goals made. And I think it's the same premise, isn't it, Tim? So that if you like the under, you'd probably take under 112.5, and you got -110 both ways on that one. I would actually take the under as that as well. Now, obviously, you're going to get screwed if at the end of the first half, guy makes a 52-yard field goal, or at the end of the game, somebody makes a long field goal. You're in trouble. I mean, you're really in trouble if somebody makes a very long. I feel like, and you can tell me if you disagree or not, when they're in no man's land, and you got, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, I feel like you're going to see both of these teams go for it a lot when you have a long field goal, because as you just said, you're not going to win this football game, and you're certainly not going to beat the Chiefs by kicking field goals. And that's why I like the under here in both.
And I don't disagree. And I know Doug Kazarian, who was on the show earlier this week, said his favorite bet, and he had to lay a pretty hefty price, was, I think, under 54.5 yards for the longest field goal. Now, you had to lay, I think it was maybe 350, 400, something like that, lay the juice. So it's a risky proposition in that regard, where you have to lay a big price. But think about this. This is an outdoor game, likely going to be raining, two coaches that are very, very aggressive. So, you look at the longest field goal, which was initially set here at the Circa, 46.5. I wouldn't play that one, because I could certainly see a 47-yard field goal being a potential. But if you're looking north of 50, the only spot, and that's what you hit on, would be bad luck at the end of the half.
Or the game.
If there is an opportunity for Tampa Bay or Kansas City to kick a long field goal. More so, I think it's the end of the first half as opposed to the end of the game, because you don't know what the situation is going to be.
Speaking of the end of the first half, this is a prop bet that I was looking at. The last score of the first half will be either a touchdown or any other score. So it could be a safety, I guess, but the chances of that happening are not very good, because the team is just going to take a knee. They're not going to allow that to happen. But touchdown and any other score are both -110 right now. That's an interesting one. I like any other score, even though you could see either team scoring a last-second touchdown there. If there's a minute on the clock, 30 seconds on the clock, both of these quarterbacks are going to try to move the ball quickly, and I could absolutely rather see a field goal right at the end of the half than anything else. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that unless Steve Spagnuolo goes to the school of Mike Pettin and decides to play zero safety defense at the end of the half, and Scotty Miller runs buck naked down the sideline for a touchdown. A couple other ones that I'm looking at. I think a lot of people are very high on Travis Kelce in this game, and
I'm one of those.
I am too.
Yep.
And I think the Anytime touchdown prop is one that has been played by a lot. I think Gil Alexander on VSiN.com has talked about that as his favorite prop bet. I like it too, but once again, you're talking about laying $1.70, $1.75. We've got the odds up here from DraftKings, $1.62. So plus 650 at DraftKings for Kelce to score the game's first touchdown. And the prop that I played was Kelsey to score a first half touchdown at 2-1. I played that at the Westgate earlier this week. I feel like it is going to be a situation where Patrick Mahomes is targeting him early. I think there is intrigue there on the first touchdown. But once again, historically, Tampa Bay takes the ball if they win the toss, and Kansas City defers. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at the potential of the first touchdown going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the likelihood of Kelsey scoring a touchdown in the first half is pretty high. So at 2-1, as opposed to minus 170 or minus 175 anytime, that's what intrigued me with Kelsey.
All week, Kelsey's made comments saying as much as he respects Gronk, he wants to be the number one guy. The number one guy. He's been saying that all week. I still believe he has a chip on his shoulder. Even what he's done so far in his career, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Kelsey is going to have an enormous game come Sunday.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That's Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you. A massive move in the baseball world. Trevor Bauer headed not to Queens, New York, but instead headed out to Los Angeles. What does that mean in the futures odds? And also, what's going on in that Clippers and Celtics game out in Los Angeles? We'll get you updated on that. It's the Nightcap on a Friday, right before the Super Bowl here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Led behind the counter, Tony Miller from the Golden Nugget will join us in 20 minutes. It is the Nightcap. Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you here on VSiN, and fired up for Super Bowl 50. Wall-to-wall coverage. Brent Musburger's big game special will lead us off on Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern here on VSiN, and we'll be on MSG Plus in New York all day long. It's going to be a great day here on VSiN of coverage, getting you ready for Super Bowl 55. The handle is going to be out of control, as we talked about, Brian, at the start of the show with you're Brian Shapiro, with Derek Stevens.
I wish I was Derek Stevens.
Yeah.
I'd have more money in my bank account.
Me too. That would be nice. Right now, halftime in Los Angeles with the Celtics leading the Clippers. The Clippers leading the Celtics. I'm all over the place tonight. 62-51 here at Circa. Clippers won off as a 5.5-point favorite, and the Phoenix Suns have run away with this one in Phoenix tonight. Suns up 109-86. We'll take a look at some of those player props here for this Phoenix Suns game as it's coming down to the wire. And wouldn't you know it, right on the number, Devin Booker, 23 points, and the over-under was 23.5, so it looks like the under will hit there. Chris Paul did hit his over. That was 15.5, and that has gone over at 20.
Just take unders with Chris Paul when it comes to the playoffs, and I think he'll be just fine. Regular season, he'll hit plenty of overs.
Yeah,
sure.
A lot of buzz about the Suns, the way that they finished out last year in the bubble. They get Chris Paul in the trade from Oklahoma City. He played well down in the bubble, and he's had some big games. He had that game earlier this week against the Dallas Mavericks, played extremely well there. So we'll see if this Phoenix Suns team can make any noise. But looks like they'll get the cover tonight at home against Detroit. The Vegas Golden Knights, no rust there, folks. 5-0 right now.
This is not a bad Kings hockey team. Okay, they're not great, but they're a 500 team. Obviously, Jonathan Quick has got a lot of experience. He's still a very good goaltender. This is not a bad hockey team they're playing. They haven't played a game in almost 2 weeks, and they are just embarrassing the LA Kings right now. Can you imagine in T-Mobile Arena right now, if we weren't involved in a pandemic, how that arena would be going nuts right now? I mean, they are just destroying the Kings.
Yeah, and the over-under in the Knights and Kings game was 5.5, juice to the over. Here at Circa, -132 to the over. So you could have got plus money on the under, and the over looks like it will hit, though. It is 5-0. That one late in the second period. Other hockey game going on right now. Anaheim with a 2-1 lead over San Jose. So the slight dog in Anaheim getting a lead. That one late in the second period. We'll keep you updated on that. So yesterday, we were going to do a segment on Trevor Bauer going to the New York Mets. And I, as a Washington Nationals fan, was not thrilled about the prospect of that unfolding. You know, the Mets have had really great offseason. They get Francisco Lindor. They get Carlos Carrasco. Now, they've missed on a couple others. But then we get word, no. He's going to Los Angeles. And the rich just get richer. You're defending World Series champs, Brian, with a rotation with 2 Cy Young winners on it. Now add a 3rd Cy Young winner this past year's. Oh, by the way, that doesn't count Walker Buehler, who might arguably be one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball.
Here's something. Bauer's going to be making $40 million this next upcoming season. When you look at the 26-man payroll on Pittsburgh, that's only $30 million. The Baltimore Orioles, $34 million. And the Cleveland Indians, $36 million. So there you go. He's making more money in 1 year than 3 entire organizations in 1 year.
And there's the odds board. Here at Circa, the odds have shifted. Plus 140 for the Dodgers to win the National League. South Point plus 150. A little longer odds at DraftKings and PointsBet. How about Westgate? Ultra aggressive on this. Even money. Folks, it's February 5th. Even money for the Dodgers to win the National League pennant, and 2-1 to win the World Series. So the folks over at the Westgate not messing around. Clayton Kershaw, Trevor Bauer, Walker Buehler, David Price, Julio Urias. Oh, by the way, Dustin May will be your 6th starter. Dude who throws like 97 and has incredible hair, by the way.
That's sickening. Yeah, better hair than me, that's for sure.
So the Dodgers make a splash today. Cy Young winner Trevor Bauer headed to Los Angeles. The odds reflective of that. They were already the favorites to win the World Series. They were already the favorites to win the National League, and they've just hammered that home even more. The rich get richer tonight in baseball as Trevor Bauer headed to Los Angeles. Some crossover pops that Ryan's intrigued about.
I'm excited.
I'll tell you about those next right here. It's the Nightcap on VSiN. Wrapping up our first week of the Nightcap, and with all the new viewers, now that we have your attention, why don't you take a minute and start your free trial of an all-access VSiN subscription. March Madness is right around the corner, and the football betting season, folks, it does not end after the big game on Sunday. We've got free agency, the quarterback carousel, and of course the NFL draft. And our experts are handicapping games in every sport every day, so you have an edge all year round. VSiN gives you everything you need to improve your sports betting IQ with daily insights and analysis. So sign up now to get our daily emails with the best bets from our hosts and guests, 24/7 video streaming, and our point spread weekly betting guides. Check out all our membership options starting at only $3.99 per month at vsin.com/subscribe to start your free trial today. It is the nightcap here on VSiN Live from the Circa, and it is a pretty lively atmosphere on a Friday night. Brian Shapiro, Ryan and Shotgun today with me, Tim Murray, and we'll talk to Tony Miller coming up in about 10 minutes. Go behind the counter at the Golden Nugget. What sharp action is he seeing? Liability. And one thing I'm curious about, I got asked all day, do you foresee this line moving at all? And I kept saying no. I think as soon as it goes to 3.5, Brian, I think it'll get gobbled
back to
up.
3.
I think it'll get gobbled right back up by Tampa Bay backers.
Yeah, I agree.
And we've seen that. We saw that when this number was posted, immediately went down to 3. So we'll see what Tony has to say with the rush of public money probably starting today as well. Quick updates. We do have a final. Phoenix over Detroit tonight, 109-92. So Phoenix covers the 8, wins that game comfortably, and a couple prop bets there. Chris Paul does go over his point total, 15.5. Devin Booker just under his point total. He goes at 23, and he went off at 23.5. End of 2 periods. Anaheim, a 3-1 lead over the San Jose Sharks. Anaheim went off as a plus 102 underdog at home dog here at Circa. That one was bet up on the San Jose side. And then VGK, the Golden Knights, up 5-0 on the Los Angeles Kings. First game for VGK since January 26th, and it's been all Knights tonight here at T-Mobile. That game got bet up minus 259 for the Golden Knights. And then one final other note in the NBA before we get some crossover props that Brian is intrigued by. The Clippers have a 8-point lead, 7 to go in this one. In the third quarter, I beg your pardon, with the Clippers hosting the Boston Celtics tonight. That one went off. Some spots in town, Clippers -5. Other spots, including here at the Circa, Clippers -5.5.
Yep.
And that is, Brian, you were on that game.
Celtics are going to make me sweat. They're going to keep this game close.
You know, it wouldn't be a show without a sweat. We
of course
had a little sweat earlier today.
Yes, we did.
A little head-to-head battle. Nevada getting the outright win as a 4.5-point home dog against the Boise State Broncos, 74-72. All right. Crossover props, it's unbelievable. You know,
I love them.
You look all over, and you go to the Westgate, Circa. I mean, all these places, it's so fascinating. It's so unique, and you have a couple crossover props that you like. So I'm going to tee you up on these and tell us why you are intrigued by this. We'll start with UNLV points on Saturday. UNLV is playing
Air Force
on Saturday.
Two not very good basketball teams playing right now. So UNLV is averaging 71 points a game.
Okay.
Air Force is giving up 73 points a game. So I'll use a football analogy. Split the uprights.
Yeah.
Let's just assume they score 72 points.
Okay.
You're telling me that the Chiefs can't rush for 80 yards? I love it, Tim.
Right.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. Now, you could get lucky and UNLV lays an egg and they score 51 points like they did against New Mexico a few weeks ago. You could get lucky, and then you're sitting pretty. They're not going to – I don't think they're scoring 80. They'll score in the low 70s. They could score in the low 60s. You could get lucky. I love that prop.
All right, there you go. Brian is on the Chiefs laying 6.5 rushing yards.
Yes.
So they have to if UNLV scores 71 points, the Chiefs need to have at least 78 rushing yards.
Doable. Very doable.
All right. Golf. I know you're a big golf guy. Played golf in college. You love to bet golf. We've got the Waste Management Open going on right now. Bryson DeChambeau, 4th round score.
Yep.
So
this is the
70.
Saudi. This is the Saudi.
Oh, so he's over.
Yep. So
he's with Dustin
I have
Johnson.
one of those for you, though, but correct. So Saudi International, the guy who hits the ball 800 yards off the tee, Bryson DeChambeau. If you like Travis Kelce, which I think we both do, minus 28.5. So let's assume Bryson DeChambeau is going to go 3 or 4 deep. 3 or 4 under. He shoots 67, 68.
Okay.
Travis Kelce's minus 28.5. I love Travis Kelce here. I love it. And you're rooting for Bryson DeChambeau to play well. I love this prop. I just absolutely love it. But DeChambeau's been in form. I think he was 4 under on Thursday. These guys are getting paid boatloads of money to play outside of the country in this tournament. No pressure on Bryson. I think he'll play well, and I think Travis Kelce covers there.
All right, so we're laying it with the favorite as well. So once again, Kelce, you're looking at 95 yards if Bryson DeChambeau shoots a 66.
Again, very doable.
Yeah. All right. we will get to someone who's at the Waste Management Open. By the way, Dustin Johnson just nailed some dude off.
Did you see that?
Off the drive today.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Tony Finau, 4th round bogeys versus Rob Gronkowski.
I love it.
Receptions.
I love this one.
Gronk or Finau?
I love Gronk. Here's the thing. I know Finau chokes on Sundays. I get it. But again, he's not in contention to win. You never know. Finau could play the round without any bogeys at all. I'm going to say let's just say he gets 2 bogeys. So now the spread is 2.5. You're telling me Gronk can't have 3 receptions? Are you kidding me?
Well, especially with Cameron Brate being banged up,
right.
And we know the struggles that the Kansas City Chiefs have slowing things down.
And Finau's been playing well.
Yeah.
So I suspect he'll play well on Sunday, and you could get lucky.
Bogey-free?
If he's bogey-free, you can win this bet in the first quarter.
You know what? I like that bet. I
like one of them.
I like that bet. Let's go Tony Finau. Take care of business here. Brooks Koepka, 4th round fairways.
I love
hit
this one.
Versus Super Bowl first quarter points.
Okay, so the maximum amount of fairways he can hit is 14. We're talking Waste Management now, okay? Yep. He's not going to hit 14 fairways. In fact, I don't even think he hits 10. This is not the same Brooks Koepka that we've seen before the surgery. Let's just say he hits 6 fairways, 6 or 7. The first quarter total is around 10.5. Mm-hmm. If he only hits 6 fairways, you're looking very, very good. Now, I know a lot of people like the under. I know you like the under.
Yep.
But I like this bet. I like first quarter points. If Koepka sprays the golf ball everywhere, you're in Fat City. You might only need 7 or 8 points, or 9 points in the first quarter. So I like it.
All right. There you go. We'll get to some of the NBA crossover props in the next hour. That's Brian Shapiro. I'm Tim Murray. It is the Nightcap. We'll head behind the counter next over to the Golden Nugget. Tony Miller standing by. Where's that sharp action coming in for Super Bowl 55? We'll discuss that next right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. is the Nightcap here on VSiN. And folks, the Kentucky Derby qualifying points are there for the taking in New York and Florida, and the Ron Flatter Racing Pod previews both of this weekend's races. Trainer Harry Weiner talks about Withers Stakes contender Capo Kane. Mike Henry of Tampa Bay Downs previews the Sam F. Davis Stakes, and Paul Zilm of Circus Sports handicaps both preps. The Ron Flatter Racing Pod will be posted Friday. Download the Ron Flatter Racing Pod now at vsin.com/podcast or wherever you get your podcasts. It is sponsored by First Bet. Tim Murray and Brian Shapiro with you. It is the Nightcap live from Circa, and one update: Clippers and Celtics. I see some perspiration coming off of the dome there of Brian Shapiro as the Boston Celtics have made this a game. It is now 75-74. Clippers with a 1-point lead as this game went off. 5.5 here at Circa, 5 at other spots in town. Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray, and fired up to have our next guest on. I can't believe, he's been on other shows. I don't know how we've missed paths so far. Tony Miller, the sportsbook director at the Golden Nugget. Tony, I've been out here for about 5 or 6 months. We haven't hooked up yet. We know crazy things are going on in the world, but it's great to have you on the show. And, man, no better time to have you on with the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Well, Tim, first of all, welcome to the West Coast. I'm glad you're here, buddy. You got a fine show, and it's good to have you in town. And we've had some history together, and I'm really happy to be on your show. Thank you.
Absolutely. At Gollum LV is where you can find Tony on Twitter. All right, Tony, this has been a question I've been asked countless times just doing radio hits over the week, and I'm sure you've been asked too. This sits 3 everywhere, and the total at 56. The public's going to come in. I imagine the public going to play the Chiefs. But do you foresee come kickoff this getting to 3.5? My answer has been no, because I feel like every time Tony touches 3.5, here comes the wise guys to scoop it up.
Tim, all week long, I've been telling my bosses upstairs the same thing. They've been laying the 3 with the Chiefs and laying the juice on $1.20 on that 3, and they've been taking the Tampa Bay money line. I've come down on the Tampa Bay money line. So it's going back and forth between those 2 bets. And, if this game falls Chiefs 1 or 2, then, the house is going to scoop it. But, it's just been going back and forth right now. I really don't see it moving as of this point. It's just good two-way action.
Tony, have you had anybody show up to the window with a suitcase full of $100 bills? What is the biggest bet, the biggest action? Tony, I've lived in this town 20 years. I've actually seen that before, believe it or not. I was at a book once when somebody showed up with a bunch of suitcases. I'm sure you have too. Has any of that gone on this week?
I haven't seen any suitcases, but I have seen a few backpacks that were loaded up. And it's funny because I've been in town since 75. When I was going to college at UNLV in 78, that was my very first Super Bowl, the Cowboys and Broncos, way back, I think, Super Bowl 12. And this is the one Super Bowl, every year I say they're a little bit different than the year before, but this one is really different, between the pandemic and the mobile wagering and the sports books across America now. It's just been different. And I haven't had any real large bets at the Golden Nugget yet. But come Sunday, we will have that one window open, which is high wagering only. And usually we have a few people in line all day long.
Yeah, I've mistakenly gone in that line a couple times, Tony, and I get up there. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. This line is not for me. Tony Miller joining us from the Golden Nugget at Gollum LV. Tony, I'm curious about handle because I know a lot of people have been wondering. The handle nationwide is going to be monstrous, record-setting. And do you feel like, comparison to last year, where are you guys? And do you think, even with the pandemic, as you mentioned, I feel like with mobile apps nowadays, the handle will still be pretty solid. Where are you guys in comparison to last year?
Yeah, Tim, you're right. It started off real slow for us. I was real worried, but the pandemic, with that being here, it has caused a lot more wagering to shift over to the mobile phone app, and that's been great for us so far with this game. And they're betting from home. They're betting the props on the app. They're betting the game, and we expect the in-game wagering and whatnot all to be very lively come Sunday. So the mobile phone app has carried us through. The counter business is a little bit slower, but the mobile phone app has taken off for sure.
Okay, Tony, so where are you most vulnerable here? What number do you not want to see that is not good for you guys right now?
Well, as of right now, if Tampa Bay wins the game straight up, we got a little bit of liability there, but we are looking good on the futures that we can throw in there on both teams. And, of course, the 3 would be deadly because all we'd be doing all day Monday is refunding. So, we can stay away from 3. And right now, as far as us, the Nuggets, concerned, it's Tampa Bay straight up. So a little bit of a loser for us.
Yeah, Derek Stevens was joking earlier in the show. He's going to wear a big T-shirt starting tomorrow with the number 3 with a line through it. Can't have anyone. Can't have this game laying 3.
I've had those in the past, and those are not fun, my man. Not fun.
Tony, I'm curious, where do you guys sit right now on Kansas City money line? Because this has been something I've been looking at all week. I ultimately, at the South Point today, they had it down at minus 160. So I played Kansas City on the money line at minus 160. But, as you've mentioned, I think the casual fan, if you like Tampa Bay, you're betting $100. You'd rather bet it at plus 145, plus 150 than, minus 110 at a short number. So that's the way the casual fan, I imagine, will go. Do you think your money line will continue to drop?
I think so. We opened up $1.70 on the Chiefs, and they quickly took to 50. We went down to 45, plus 45, and we hung there as long as we could, and we finally just dropped it last night. We went down, and but they're still coming in with Tampa Bay. They want a little bit of value if the Bucs win the game straight up, and there's a lot of Brady believers out there, and I think he's going to come in all weekend. So I can see that thing dropping down to maybe 55 or 50. Come game time.
Tony, in your estimation, where is the public money going and where is the sharp money going?
Well, the public money's definitely not going to, Tampa Bay. I get this question all the time. I can hear it out there amongst all my crowds coming in talking, and they come in from all over. They're plain and simple. They're tired of Brady, and even though he's making history, first quarterback to play in his home turf and first quarterback to win in both conferences, they're just burned out on him. And they're playing Kansas City. They believe in Mahomes. They believe in the kid. I've heard, that last year Mahomes beat his understudy in Garoppolo, and this year he's taking on the master, and he's going to beat him and be the new Tom Brady. So I definitely believe the public is going to be all over Kansas City.
Yeah, that makes me a bit nervous about my stance on Kansas City heading into this weekend. I'm usually, Tony, not one to side with the public, but we'll see. We might be hand in hand come Sunday. We're talking to Tony Miller. Always love picking his brain over at the Golden Nugget at Gollum LV on Twitter. Tony, what are some of the props that you've seen some of the most action on and lines that you felt like we had Chris Andrews on, and he was pretty honest. He felt like there were a couple props. Maybe he priced them incorrectly. Any props that you guys have had to adjust quite a bit?
One of the props that they hit with us pretty good was with the team to score first, win the game. They bet that pretty good, and they haven't stopped on that. And of course, the ever popular, the first player to score and the last player to score of the game has been real popular. But the two ones I always like to keep my eye on, Tim, that we got crushed on in the past was the safety, and will the safety be the first score of the game? That year it happened was just dreadful, and that's one I don't want to see. And of course, the overtime, bro.
Tony, can you take us back real quick? Sorry to bring up bad memories, but Denver and Seattle. Snap goes over the head of Peyton Manning. What was the book like? Because I got to imagine there were some people in there who had anytime safety to be the first score. What was that evening like with the safety being the first score?
It's funny you said that because I was in my our big grand ballroom party with Tillman Fertitta, our owner, and I was standing there talking to him. I can remember saying, "We're looking good. We just don't need a safety right now, or the first score to be a safety." I would be devastated. Man, sure as crap, it happened. And I turned to him. It just happened right on the big screen in front of me. And I looked at him, and he looked at me. And I went, "Oh boy," But it put us in a big hole for the game. But we ended up winning small on that game, I believe. But that did not help us at all.
Tony, do you foresee any possibility of -3 moving one way or the other? And do you have any inclination of the total moving before Sunday game time as well?
Yeah, the total's a good possibility. You know, I'm starting to see some under money come in over the Golden Nugget. I took a few hits on limit plays today. I haven't moved it yet. But as far as the side goes, man, right now the two-way action is just so good on the game. If anything, I'll come off that $1.20 and come down to $1.15 or 3 flat on the game. And you know, it depends on what the money is. I know our VIPs are all rolling into the Golden Nugget right now, and they're going to be, you know, all weekend. They're going to be firing away, and we got parties all over the place. And it just takes one or two of those, you know, backpacks to walk up to the counter and move my money. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Tony, since now that I'm down here every single night, can't wait to meander over to the Golden Nugget, say hello, and maybe get a nightcap after the nightcap one of these days.
Tim, I can't wait to see you, buddy, and you know, I'll hook it up for us. You let me know when and where.
There he is, Tony Miller. Hey, Tony, have a great Super Bowl, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys. You take care.
Thanks,
Have a good
Tony.
one.
There he is, Tony Miller, the sportsbook director over at the Golden Nugget, at Gollum LV on Twitter. And, you know, I think a lot of people, Brian, when you asked about the total and would it move, would think, oh, it's gonna go up. No, he said, no, we're seeing some under money come in. And
That's unusual.
That'll be interesting to see if it goes under 56. Obviously a key number there.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from the total, but that is unusual. Usually the public they bet overs in every sport, but it doesn't seem like that's the case this year.
Brady with Mahomes, with these two offenses, Joe Public's walking in and they're betting over.
Yep.
They're betting Chiefs or Buccaneers money line. Those are going to be what the bets will be. We'll get more bets. James Salinas, our own James Salinas, at the top of the hour. It's the Nightcap on VSiN. Final hour of the Nightcap as we get you ready for Super Bowl 55. We are here, and Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you. It is it has been the craziest night, but the second half it's funny. I guess not funny because you were on the Clippers here.
It's sick. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's sick. How are the Clippers losing this game, Tim?
Jason Tatum has been going off. The Celtics had a monster third quarter, and comparing this to last night. Now the Lakers were the 5-point favorite last night.
Right.
And they were down 12 at the half to the Nuggets. And here, the Clippers were up 11 at the break, and Boston outscored the Clippers 38-20 in the third quarter. 8 3-pointers by Boston in the third quarter.
I remember that Rick Pitino speech back in the day. McHale's not walking through that door. Bird's not walking through the door. I feel like saying that today. Wait a second. Brown's not walking through that door. Marcus Smart's not walking through that door. Yet they're beating the Clippers right now. And I'm thinking to myself, how? And I know Tatum is a superstar. I get it. I guess it's just one of those situations where the third quarter, the Celtics just made everything.
Yeah.
They just made everything. What are you going to do? What can you do about that?
Jason Tatum has gone for 30 so far tonight as he's going to take a brief rest here for the Celtics. So 30 points for Jason Tatum, 5 3-pointers. And we saw earlier this week he and Steph Curry go toe-to-toe in a spectacular game, a 111-107 win for the Celtics. And he and Steph went really, it was a great game. The props we took a close look on all went over. Yeah. And Jason Tatum having a good game. Kemba Walker, 16 points for the Celtics. For the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, 22 points and gotten to the line a bunch, 11 boards, and no Paul George tonight for the Clippers.
I want to play this Celtics team in the playoffs, especially if they're healthy. They're going to be a tough out.
Yeah,
the question is Kemba Walker, though. I mean, to me, he's the glue that keeps this team together. And is he going to be 100% healthy? If he is, I would not want to play this team. How they're doing this without Brown and Smart is extremely impressive. Not what I thought.
Celtics, once again, went off as a 5.5-point dog here at Circa, and with a 5-point lead, that one early in the fourth quarter. Celtics and Clippers, will keep an eye on that as the final hour continues here on the Nightcap. Tim Murray, Brian Shapiro with you. James Salinas going to join us in a couple minutes to give his thoughts on the Super Bowl, some props. Of course, you hear James on betting across America. A couple hockey games going on right now, almost midway through the third period in Anaheim, all tied up at 3, so the over hits in the Sharks and Ducks. The Sharks have now come back to tie this one up. They were down 3-1. The Sharks went off as a short favorite at minus 112 here at Circa. The Ducks plus 102 on the money line, but the over does cash for the San Jose Sharks. It's been an under night in the NHL. Philly and Boston going under the 5.5 there. 2-1. Boston gets to win over Philadelphia. Florida, a winner over Nashville, 2-1. And then Tampa on the puck line. Massive favorite. No surprise here against Detroit. Minus 370 here at Circa.
This is a horrendous bad beat if you have the over in the Knights game.
Yeah.
And if they don't score a goal in the third period, this is a the end game had to be 7.5 goals or something like that.
It was, yeah.
It had to be up there pretty good. That's the weird thing about NHL hockey. Usually, I notice this a lot. I'm sure you do too, Tim. If it's a 3 or a 4 goal lead in the third period, it seems like both teams kind of I'm not going to say they give up, but they play defensive hockey and they just get out of there. But I feel like that's what's going to happen here. I feel like this could be a brutal under if you have the over in this Knights game.
Yeah, the Knights went off minus 103 on the puck line, so that's looking good. But if you did bet the over, it was juiced to the over. Here at the Circa, it was juiced minus 132 to the over 5.5. And to your point, Brian, in a 5-0 game, usually not going to see a goalie pulled,
right.
So we'll see. But Vegas Golden Knights, first game since January 26th, and went off as a massive favorite, no surprise, and backing and making the patrons here at Circa very happy. That's Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you. It is the Nightcap. James Salinas standing by for some prop action. It is the Nightcap final hour on a Friday. Hopefully you've got yourself a nightcap. Hey, it is the weekend. The weekend will be the halftime entertainment. You know, for me personally, my halftime entertainment is going to be watching Amal Shaw and Mike Palm here on VSiN, a special halftime show of the Nuts. I mean, that's just me. I think that's what most people should do, Brian.
Can I just say, as a poker player, that is just a great name for a show.
The Nuts?
You know, I never
With a
make
Z.
the Nuts when I'm playing poker. I lose to the Nuts, but that is just an awesome name for a show.
I don't disagree. So yeah, wall-to-wall coverage on Sunday, and a part of that coverage, and you see him all throughout the week betting across America. He and Mike Pritchard do a phenomenal job during the week, and you know, we've worked together a little bit. It is my guy James Salinas. James, happy Friday. I know it's you know, nearing the midnight hour there in Denver. You're hunkered down, maybe by a fire, but we appreciate you jumping on a Friday night, James.
The only thing on fire is what I'm going to be betting on this Super Bowl. And you guys, this is it. In the spirit of the nightcap, I am way ahead of you, gentlemen.
Yeah. All right, James, let's get it rolling. Let's just start before we get into the props. You know, every Sunday when me and James would do the pregame show, I would have my notepad here, and I would just be taking notes of James's prop bets because they have been hitting. So we'll get to those props in just a little bit. But let's start with the side and total. Right now, Bucks getting 3. And the money line starting to trickle down a little bit. I did see at South Point today, you could still get plus 150 if you like the Bucks. That was a promotion they were running. So what do you like side and total right now, James, come Sunday?
Well, part of the relief for me to have a nightcap now at this late hour here in the Mountain Time Zone in Denver is that I've finally made a position for myself on the Super Bowl. Of all the Super Bowls, like, you know how it's, I mean, you have the two best teams, or usually you have the two best teams meeting up both conferences at this time of year, and it's hard to pick a winner. And sometimes last year, like I was Kansas City every which way, every prop I did last year was tied into Kansas City, but this year was like, man, you have Brady, you have Mahomes, you have Reed, it was just so hard for me, and I finally got to a position of where I'm going to go with this game, and that, I think now that's a relief, because I think for as much that, I think 2 weeks in, right, you're thinking about it, you're talking about it, you're commiserating, you're getting information overload. Like, you can kind of wear yourself down mentally as to, I thought I liked this, I thought I liked that. But for me now, I've totally settled on a side. And the side is Tampa, but it's a little different. It's a little different, Tim. And I think here's where I'm going with it is, yeah, it's a 3-point game, right? So from the book's perspective, all right, field goal game, in a sense, toss-up game, right? A little bit favored towards the Chiefs because they are the defending Super Bowl champions. But you have Tom Brady on the other side. And for me, when I was looking and breaking down, I always, whether it's Super Bowl, whether it's week 1, week 8, playoff games, whatever, I always start, you know me, Tim, I'm all about matchups. Mm-hmm. I don't follow a lot of stats. It's about personnel. It's matchups. How do they coerce? And I look at the matchup here, and the biggest thing that I just can't get away from is this offensive line for Kansas City and all the moving parts and pieces, especially since Fisher went down. We know Schwartz went down early in the season, but now that Fisher went down in the AFC Championship game, now you're moving Remmers from right tackle to left tackle. He's a right tackle. The last time he played left tackle was 4 or 5 years ago. The last time he was actually in a Super Bowl, he got worked by the Denver Broncos and contributed to Von Miller winning the MVP in that Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 50. I just feel like I just can't get away from the fact that of all the mismatches there, it's going to be this makeshift offensive line for Kansas City versus this, let's just call it the front seven, because they'll run 3-4, they'll run 4-3, depending if they go nickel. Like that front seven for Tampa, very experienced, very talented, very fast, very physical, and I just can't get myself past the fact that I think of all the matchups on the field, both sides of the football, that is the biggest mismatch, gentlemen, is that offensive line for Kansas City going against that front seven for Tampa, and hence I am on a couple of different, we can call them props, I suppose, where I like Tampa to win the game, but plus 140, plus 145 as a money line. Didn't sell it to me. So I found a couple props in there. So I figured I like Tampa to win the football game. Tampa plus 390, 1 to 6 point winner, right? These are these alternate lines, these extended lines that you could have, or these alternate win totals. And then Tampa 7 to 12 points plus 700. Those are a couple of bets that I put in because I really think Tampa is going to win this football game outright.
So, James, saying that you think Tampa's going to win this game, do you think there's any value at all on taking Tom Brady to win the MVP? Because I think most people would agree that if Tampa wins this game, they're probably going to give the MVP to Tom Brady, and I believe it's somewhere around 2-1. Do you think there's any value there?
Absolutely. So that's another prop. So we talk about props, and Tim and I all season long, we've been talking about it. Now that Colorado has legalized sports betting, and it just came online this past May. So this is the first NFL season for somebody like me who's grown up in Denver, and, for informational purposes only, I used to play, but ultimately was with a local for a long time, right? And so when you're dealing with a local, you don't have nearly as many options when it comes to props. This year, now that it's such a bettor's market out here, gentlemen, in Colorado, we have so many operators, and you do your shopping. If you do your homework, I'm not a great shopper unless you're talking about line value, then I'm totally dialed in, right? And for me here, yes, Tom Brady, that's kind of like, for me, it's a hedge play in a sense that, let me break this down. So we talked about Tampa Bay winning the game 1 to 6 points plus 390. Tampa Bay winning the game 7 to 12 plus 700. To me, those are too good of numbers to pass up. And ultimately, if Tampa Bay wins the football game, yes, I think Tom Brady has to be a big player in that. And we saw last year, think about last year's Super Bowl with Kansas City. I mean, Damian Williams had a huge game for them running the football, put the nightcap on that Super Bowl last year, turning in that end around and put the ball in the end zone. Who ended up winning the football game? It was Kansas City and Mahomes getting the MVP. And I think the same thing here. Storybook, right? It's if Tampa Bay wins the football game, unless Fournette has a monster game, or White or somebody on that defensive side has an incredible game like we saw back 5 years ago with Von Miller with the Denver Broncos. How do they not give it to Tom Brady? So in this sense, at 2-1, yes, I did bet Tom Brady. So worst case scenario, let's say, and I don't expect this to happen, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, that the Buccaneers win by more than 2 touchdowns, which then I would lose both of my prop bets with these alternate lines here. Then it's a wash. But I think for me, it's worth the value of what I bet here to say, yes, I think Tampa Bay wins this football game. Obviously, Brady's going to be a big part of it, and he'll get the MVP. So I'm looking at a 2 out of 3 bet here, and that's where my props are.
We're talking to James Salinas, co-host of Betting Across America, will be part of our grand coverage on Super Bowl Sunday. We'll be all over the place, including on MSG Plus in the New York City area, which is exciting. VSiN.com, the iHeart app, anywhere you get VSiN, and we will be there on Sunday breaking it all which way. And I don't disagree. If you like one side, James, I would heavily bet or look into the quarterback. I played Patrick Mahomes. I like the Kansas City Chiefs, and I got him here at circa plus 120. So I agree with your mindset. If you like Tampa Bay, Tom Brady is likely the way to go because it's just juicier than the money line. But when it comes to Kansas City, I know there is a prop that you like, and a lot of people are expecting Travis Kelce to have a big game, but it's a hefty price if you want to lay it on anytime touchdown. Minus 170, minus 175. I played first half touchdown for Travis Kelce at 2-1. What do you like about Travis Kelce come Sunday?
Well, so I found a pretty good price with Travis Kelce to score 2 touchdowns or more. It could be 2 plus, right? And not that we're thinking he's going to score more than 3 plus 4. I think for Kelce, here's what's going to happen. So much talk has been about that Week 12 matchup back in Tampa Bay where Kansas City clearly was the better team. They were way high. I know they didn't cover the final closing line, which was 3.5, but ultimately Kansas City was up by 17 in the first quarter, finished that game out and really kind of dialed it back. And we saw that a lot out of Kansas City all season long, right? This isn't college football, Tim. We know that they're not looking for style points.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of win the football game, get through the football game, move on, put another notch in that win column, get out of there healthy. And we could care less what the final score was. But ultimately, I think for Kelsey, that was the game back in week 12 where it was all about Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill had such a monster game there, right? Just one of the biggest halves we've ever seen out of a receiver. Obviously, for Todd Bowles, here's what I look back at. They're like, oh well, Todd Bowles is not going to have the same defense, and they're going to key on Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I'm sure they will, and they're going to probably have a couple safeties high, and that'll speak back to where we think the issue, at least for me, is the offensive line, that makeshift offensive line for Kansas City. But ultimately, that was Tampa Bay coming off that short week. They had just the week prior, they hosted the Rams on Monday Night Football. And I remember that game because I was on Tampa Bay. And after that game, I kind of threw my hands up, fellas, just feeling like I haven't, of all the teams this whole season, this is the team that I've just struggled to try to really get a good handle on what is their identity, because they really didn't adjust in game. And then a short week, now you got to play Kansas City, the world champs. It just felt to me like Tampa was underprepared for that game. Then they had their bye week. Right after that 2-game stretch, Monday Night Football against the Rams, then you host Kansas City, and you got worked in that first half. Now you have the bye. And since that bye, they had time to actually start to get acclimated, especially on the offensive side with Tom Brady and his new team, because they didn't have an offseason. They didn't have the preseason to get worked together and start to build some chemistry. That was the bye week, and since then they played they played some soft competition. I get that, to close out the second half of the season, but ultimately they have not lost a football game since then, and 3-0 on the road in the playoffs. And I know it's, well, Green Bay gave the game away, and Drew Brees couldn't throw the football anymore, and Washington football team had their 12th-string football, their 12th-string quarterback out there. You can make every excuse out there for it, but ultimately they're in the Super Bowl for a reason, because they went on the road and won. And here they are today. Now you have Tom Brady on the other side here. So even if it gets to a tight game, and I feel like this is going to be a game where whoever has the ball last probably wins the football game. So hence, that's why I made the bets the way that I did, plus the money, plus the 390, plus the 700. I felt like there was just too much value. I had a shot for it, right? I had to go in there and be the blue light Kmart special shopper, and found it. I like those numbers, and I just can't get away from Kansas City's offensive line being a struggle and such a detriment to where this is not the same team that we saw win the Super Bowl last year. And don't forget, gentlemen, last year, going into that, or in that Super Bowl against San Francisco, midway through the fourth quarter, the Chiefs only scored 10 points. They were down 20-10, and if not for a bad play by that corner on San Francisco side on that third and 14 play, that game easily could have went to San Francisco side.
That's true. James, I want to pick your brain a little bit on the total, if I can. First quarter prop, the over-under there is 10.5. In the history of the Super Bowl, usually teams don't even reach 10 points in the first quarter. Also, props I love to bet. Will there be a score in the first 10 minutes? Will there be a score in the first 5 minutes? Have you touched any of those, and what are your thoughts on that?
No, I haven't touched them, but I would, if I was going to bet it, I would be looking at the second or the first half total instead of the quarter. Now I know that we've seen that stat with Tom Brady. This is his 10th Super Bowl. The 9 previous Super Bowls hit with New England collectively, and it's crazy to think about that, right? 9 previous Super Bowls, first quarter score out of that team, 3 points, and that was against Philly when they lost that game. So, yeah, slow starts. I just feel like, I get it. I would like to bet instead of the first quarter, second quarter, I'd bet the first half under 27.5, and I think it's getting juiced up in a couple spots out here in Colorado anyway, just because you think about it. Yeah, there's some nerves, obviously, going into the Super Bowl, and, plenty of experience on both sides, both sidelines for these teams, but ultimately, at 27.5 points going under in the first half, I think to me I'd rather play it for 30 minutes I think that these teams, you see this typically in the Super Bowl, slow starts, don't, you're a little conservative. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Plus, the other fact, fellas, is that these defenses get 2 weeks to prepare. They get a full season of film and game tape to watch and prep for. I mean, ultimately, I know with Kansas City, Andy Reid's going to be very creative, and you give him some time off the bye, the whole thing. They'll come up with a few different plays, but a lot of times, a lot of that creativity comes inside the red zone. But ultimately, I think it's the defense's advantage that they have 2 weeks to see film and prep and find some different ways to get after the quarterback, which both of these teams need to do if they want to win this football game. So, I like the first quarter under, but I would definitely, as opposed to 10.5 under, I would like 27.5 under for the first half.
Well, that's a perfect way to end it, James, because I hate disagreeing with you. We may be on a different side, but you and I on the under first half. We can cheer for a boring first half together. We can sing Kumbaya when it's 10-10 at the half. James, always a pleasure, man, and can't wait to work with you this weekend.
Totally, man. Great to be on the show with you guys. Have a great Friday night nightcap, and Tim, good luck with your show going forward.
There he is. James Salinas, co-host of Betting Across America. Much more to come, including an update from Los Angeles when we come back. It's the Nightcap on VSiN. is the Nightcap on a Friday night. It is Super Bowl weekend, and it's been an eventful night. We usually don't have a ton of games going on, but it's great to have the Vegas Golden Knights back in action tonight. We had joked that early in the third period, it had that feeling that, could this be a bad beat coming if you had the over 5.5 goals? Not so much, Ryan. The Kings have scored a pair of goals, so if you took Vegas on the puck line at, it's even money in some spots, you're feeling pretty comfortable in your position, and the over does come home. It's now 5-2.
The books always lose money when the Knights cover the puck line and the over. I can guarantee you there were some people hitting the windows going, I want the Knights puck line and give me the over 5.5. So I can tell you right now, a lot of these books are never happy when the Knights win by more than one goal and the over comes in.
Yeah, you just heard stories. I mean, that first year, the magical run to the Stanley Cup final.
That was amazing.
And
they were sweating those. What were they to open up that season? I think it was an astronomical number.
Sure.
It was like 40-1 or something.
Expansion team wins the Western Conference, so those futures come home. They don't get there in the Stanley Cup final, but looking at the board, this thing opened on the money line. Vegas minus 225 got bet up to minus 255 in most spots. Here at Circa went up to 259.
They'll be okay. They have a big enough handle for the Super Bowl. I think the books in Vegas and everywhere will be just fine.
Yeah, people aren't too worried about that. Looks like San Jose and Anaheim might be headed to overtime. This game tied at 4. The over has sailed. This was also 5.5 there. To the NBA, and right now, overtime is where underdogs go to die. And you, Brian, are certainly hoping for overtime in Los Angeles as the Boston Celtics have turned things around here in the second half. And it is a 113-112 game. Boston, thanks to a Kemba Walker step back from the elbow, have a 1-point lead over the Knicks or over the Clippers.
I don't want to start my first show here at VSiN going 0-2.
That's fine.
I'll be the official fade handicapper of VSiN. I don't want to be labeled that, so it happens. We go 0-2. We go 0-3 sometimes. Those nights. What is the worst night you've ever had, by the way?
Oh man, there's been some college football weekends. 0 for 6, 0 for 7, 1
that's
for
rough.
7. Yeah, there's been
happens.
those weekends
Okay.
where you just feel like you are sitting in an ice bath. You try to forget those weekends. I had a terrible start to the day. Yesterday on the show, I said, hey, we got a zigzag opportunity in the NEC, a conference you're familiar with,
Very.
where your alma mater is, Central
Sadly,
Connecticut
yes.
State. Their game was postponed due to COVID issues,
Yep.
Central Connecticut State and Sacred Heart. But yeah, I said it on the show yesterday. I said off the grid, the old added extra game to the board, 7-0-0-0, whatever.
Can you get, because you're a knowledgeable guy, do you know players on some of these teams?
Some of them, yeah, for
That
sure.
is impressive.
Yeah, and that's been a conference that I've being from the DC area, I've gotten to know a little bit,
Yep.
and I've loved the zigzag opportunities, and the zigzag did not come home. So just for clarification, in these smaller conferences, and even like the Mountain West, they take a day off.
Right.
In these smaller conferences, it's back to back. The Missouri Valley's been doing
Right.
it this year, and in this spot,
Yeah.
the zigzag. If you went the zigzag, meaning whoever won or covered yesterday, you bet the opposite today, you went 0-3. ATS straight up, so both those teams. So it's.
But I like your zigzag theory when it comes to Boise State. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. It seems to work really well as the games become more and more important, like even in the playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot of guys use that theory.
Yeah, Boise State is one of the bigger games today. It really wasn't a great college basketball slate as it rarely is. But Nevada getting a really nice win over a Boise State team last week. Had their first conference loss against Colorado State. Bounce back, won the next day or 2 days later.
Yep.
So I think Sunday could be an intriguing spot because, we were sitting here watching this game. You had Boise State, I had Nevada. I'm either playing Boise or staying away. There's no way I'm going back to Nevada come Sunday afternoon.
With that being said, I have to give Nevada Reno a lot of credit.
Yeah.
They played a hell of a game. It was a good basketball game. I saw most of the game as you did. I thought Boise played pretty well. Nevada, they hit some big shots down the stretch. Let's just give them credit. Alfred's a great coach, but I agree with you. I think the only spot there would go Boise.
We'll look back at the NBA board, 115-112. It looks like the Celtics are going to get out of Los Angeles with a really impressive win, trailing by double digits at the half, and the Celtics heading to the free throw line, up by 3, went off as 5.5-point dogs here at Circa. We'll take a look back and recap the full board of the full slate of NBA action, a couple college basketball games as well, and we also have to hit on some prop bets. I haven't hit on all the prop bets that Brian wants to discuss here. Stick around, plenty more to come. It's the Nightcap on a Friday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome into all our new viewers as we're wrapping up the final day of the first week of the Nightcap here. And while you're here, take a minute to start your free trial of an all-access VSiN subscription. March Madness right around the corner, and the football betting season keeps going after the big game, of course, with free agency, the quarterback carousel, and the NFL draft. Our experts are going to be handicapping games in every sport every day, so you have an edge all year round. VSiN gives you everything you need to improve your sports betting IQ with daily insights and analysis. So sign up now to get our daily emails with the best bets from our hosts and guests, 24/7 video streaming, and our point spread weekly betting guides. Check out our membership options starting only at $3.99, much cheaper than $30. $3.99 per month. VSiN.com/subscribe to start your free trial today. It is the nightcap here on VSiN, a Friday, wall-to-wall coverage tomorrow, and on Sunday, of course, getting you ready for Super Bowl 55. Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you here live from the Circa, and during our break, we heard a bit of a roar here at the Circa Sportsbook because the Golden Knights, first time in action since January 26th in the win column, a little, well, not plus money, but short juice, so very little juice for the puck line, the overhit. So that usually means Golden Knight fans are happy. 5-2 win over the Knights. Or Kings.
I'm really impressed with this Golden Knights team. You know, challenges, of course, with the coronavirus. That's difficult. I don't care who you are or what sport it is. When you're not playing an actual game for over a week and a half, and then you come back and you play a decent Kings team. They're a 500 team. They're not a horrible team. They have good goaltending. And you score 3 goals in the first period, and you come out on fire. Very impressive. Again, I'll say it again, and I'm not saying this to be a homer. There's some good teams in the NHL that are right there with them, but I think the Knights have to be the favorite right now to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, last game of the night on the ice, actually in all sports, is taking place in Anaheim. Overtime, 3-on-3 hockey right now in the final minute, 4-4. San Jose and Anaheim. San Jose went off as it looks like a short road favorite here tonight, and this game headed to what looks to be, it is headed to a shootout right now, 4-4. The over has come home in San Jose and Anaheim. So the 2 night games hit the over. The over today, 2-3 to the under on the ice tonight. Boston, Philly, 2-1 Boston. Nashville, Florida, 2-1 Florida, and Detroit at Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, 3-1 winner there. Tampa Bay, I'm just curious to look at the puck line. You still had to lay $1.50 on Tampa Bay.
Minus 1.5.
For minus 1.5 for Tampa Bay.
Not
Detroit,
surprising.
Well, you got the defending champs, and Detroit is just absolutely terrible. Before we turn the page to tomorrow and also on Sunday, we'll take a look back at some of the prop bets we like in our final segment. Let's relook at the evening that was in the association, finishing up with a really impressive comeback here. Sorry, Brian. We know you were on the Clippers. Losers.
It happens,
man. You lose sometimes.
Go ahead and play that Beck song, Loser. I deserve it tonight.
But the Clippers had a 11-point first-half lead, and the Celtics on fire in the third quarter. 8 3-pointers.
Gutsy win. Gutsy win.
Yeah, 38-20. Bouncing back after a loss to the Kings. Earlier this week, they had a great win over the Warriors. So it really has been a solid road trip, beating the Clippers tonight, as you mentioned. Marcus Smart out, Jaylen Brown out. And Jason Tatum goes off. 34 points for the Celtics forward. Had 5 3-pointers in this game. Kemba Walker, solid performance too. 24 points. Had a big step back jumper. Iced it with the free throws. So 119, 115. Plus 200 on the money line here for the Celtics at Circa tonight.
As I said, gutsy win. Gutsy win by the Celtics. I don't think, certainly I didn't expect the Celtics to win this game. And I think when you look at this team, when Banks comes back, or I'm sorry, not Banks, Smart. I was thinking of Marcus Banks. I live in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
so,
here.
Smart comes back, and of course, when you have Brown coming back, Kemba looks good. He looks good. He looks like he's getting back to regular form. And when you have a guy like Tatum who could just go off like he did tonight, this is going to be a tough out for any team in the East. I don't care if they play Brooklyn. I don't care if they play Philadelphia. The Celtics are going to be a tough team to beat in the playoffs. And again, unacceptable loss, in my opinion, by the Clippers. When you look at this Celtics team that was undermanned tonight, kind of scratch your head a little bit and say, how did they lose this game outright?
Yeah,
how?
No Paul George tonight for the Clippers, but tend to agree, and you blow a double-digit second-half lead to the Celtics, who are undermanned. But, like you said, a very nice win for the Celtics. 5.5-point road dog tonight in Los Angeles, plus 200 on the money line. And the biggest need of the night for the book here at Circa was the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors going into Brooklyn. They were getting 5 or 5.5, and the Raptors get a win on the road in Brooklyn. Just a bizarre circumstance with Kevin Durant.
Really strange.
And we had heard it because of COVID protocols, he would not be playing. Then we found out he would be playing, and then mid-game, he gets pulled from the game. Kevin Durant tonight.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
It reminds me of the World Series and what happened to Turner. Like, I don't understand.
Right.
You have the best doctors, the best testing. These are professional athletes. How do you say he's not playing, then allow him to play? And it just makes whoever makes those decisions, it just makes them look really stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, that just can't happen. And especially if you have Brooklyn from a gambling perspective, and then you find out that he's playing. I mean, obviously he has a tremendous effect on the outcome of the game. He's Kevin Durant. I mean, I don't know. I mean, does Toronto win this game if Kevin Durant is out there for the entire game? I would say probably not. But, you still have Kyrie Irving and James Harden, two pretty good players. But again, another big win by a team you least expected on the road in Toronto.
Yeah, earlier this week, Fred VanVleet going for 54.
Yeah, incredible.
Tonight, just 11 for VanVleet, so under 21.5 for him. The go-to guy, Pascal Siakam, 33 points tonight for the Raptors. He goes well over his total, and a solid game. Siakam was 20.5. Kyle Lowry comes through with 30, so a big game for both Siakam and Kyle Lowry. If you're wondering player prop-wise for the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant well under his total just because of the bizarre circumstances, but you could still cash that ticket. It was 27.5. For Kyrie Irving, his total was 25.5. He finishes just 15, and James Harden finishes with 17. So a really impressive defensive effort from Toronto. The total went down, Brian. It was up at 242 at one point.
Yep.
It went off at 239.5.
Right there at the number.
Boom, lands 240.
It's incredible.
Couple late free throws. Toronto comes home as a dog. The biggest need of the night, according to Derek Stevens here at Circa, Toronto comes through with a 123-117 win over the Brooklyn Nets. Cash a plus 194 on the money line here at the Circa. That's Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you here on VSiN. It's the nightcap. When we come back, we'll turn the page to tomorrow, some Super Bowl prop bets, and a little look at the college basketball slate. We'll wrap things up. Don't go anywhere on VSiN. things up. It is the nightcap here on VSiN. Brian Shapiro, Tim Murray with you on a Friday night, and the final game is in the books, folks, and the dog comes home. San Jose in a shootout beats the Anaheim Ducks, a final of 5-4. So the evening has concluded, and on the ice, the overs went 2-3. So 2-3 to the under when it comes to hockey. But Brian, we always like to wrap up the show turning the page and looking ahead to tomorrow. Just a monster college basketball slate tomorrow with some marquee games. You've got Kansas visiting West Virginia, Texas taking on Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State coming off a loss to TCU. You've got Wisconsin at Illinois, Alabama at Missouri, and it's odd to see, but an unranked showdown between UNC and Duke. By the way, for those watching on vsin.com or on Twitch as we stream it on Twitter, look at that board. It is so the print is so incredibly tiny because there's so many games. And how could I forget Houston and Our Lady of the Lake? How could you forget about that one? Houston laying 46 tomorrow in that spot. So at quick glance here, what intrigues you tomorrow afternoon?
Not that I'm really happy about betting on Duke ever, for obvious reasons, living in Vegas. But I'll tell you something. Coach K lit a fire under this team. I believe they lost to Miami a few days ago.
Yep.
And Coach K's comments after the game made SportsCenter, and he was very unhappy with his team's performance, the effort. Basically, in short, he said, "We suck." I mean, that's basically what he said. Usually, when a coach makes a statement like that, especially a Coach K, I wouldn't want to be at their practice the last couple days. I would take Duke -3 tomorrow because of that reason and that reason alone. I think you're going to see a better effort out of them than what we saw a few days ago. I really like that one.
Yeah, both these teams coming off a loss. UNC, really poor performance. I took Clemson plus the points on Tuesday night, and we opened the show back on Monday, and it was one of those bet regrets. I was frustrated myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, Miami was getting double digits at home against Duke. I just don't know how Duke is laying double digits against anybody this year, and they were laying double digits on the road. They lose that game outright.
Yeah.
I'll probably sit this one out, but I don't disagree with your mindset there. Duke last weekend, they were bet up in the market and against Clemson at home, and they really took it to Clemson. Probably their best performance of the season last weekend against Clemson, winning that game, running away. So it could be a spot. I mean, a rivalry game, it's always tricky to handicap that. But yeah, I would lean towards your thought there. It would probably be Duke or nothing for me.
Young, inconsistent, right? We see the same thing with teams like John Calipari's Kentucky. Young, inconsistent, need to learn how to win, right? It's not that they don't have talent, but these kids need to get better. They need to get better. They need to learn.
Yeah, and this year, and Gary Parrish wrote an article about it this week, talking about look at the teams that are struggling this year.
Mm-hmm.
Duke, Kentucky,
yep.
Tennessee struggling because two of their best players are 5-star freshmen. Yep. I mean, this has been such an unusual year. Teams that are thriving are veteran teams. Gonzaga, Baylor. These teams have veteran presence. Even a Villanova who lost this week to St. John's. So, that's why Duke is struggling. And early on, it was a good fate. I still think they're overpriced quite a bit because they're Duke. They've been getting bet up. So, yeah, that's why this is an interesting spot. Two teams that usually draw public money because of who they are.
Yep.
But, yeah, I would look at Duke or pass in this spot. It really wouldn't be a strong play. Tomorrow, another one, and it should be a really entertaining game. It's Kansas visiting West Virginia. This Kansas team...
They can score.
Yeah, but they, at times they've struggled offensively, finding a rhythm. Last weekend, they were hammered by Tennessee. You go to West Virginia, a team that is going to defend. And even though the metrics aren't great there for West Virginia defensively, 44th in KenPom in defensive efficiency, I like West Virginia laying a short number here. It's 1.5 in the market. I would probably just grab West Virginia on the money line at a short price at at home. They lost to Kansas back in December, a revenge spot for Bob Huggins' squad. So I like West Virginia locking it down defensively with that intensity at home tomorrow.
the key in that game to me is can West Virginia play at the pace they want to play at? The one thing Kansas is very good at, fast break points, steals. If West Virginia can control the tempo, I completely agree with you. And you're right. Sometimes Kansas, they struggle to make shots. They have some games where they'll go 3, 4, 5 minutes without even scoring a bucket. They settle. They're young, and again, inconsistent. They settle sometimes for jump shots. But again, if West Virginia can control the tempo of this game, I agree with you. I think they cover, no question.
I'll tell you one game to be that seems fishy, and I think the public, I know where they're going to head, and this number's already been bet down a little bit. It's Alabama on the road against Missouri. Alabama continues to roll, Brian. They are undefeated in SEC play. They're 10-0. Last weekend, prior to the COVID issues for Oklahoma, with Austin Reeves being ruled out and Williams being ruled out, I loved Oklahoma laying a short number against Alabama at home. Now, I backed off of it and played Alabama in-game because I thought Alabama would take care of business. They did not. I think this is a tricky spot for Alabama tomorrow. It's a very short number. I think the public is going to see that and say, I want Alabama here. I would be worried here. I think Missouri could be the right side here. It is a short number, Missouri being a short home dog. I would be, if I could grab the 3, it's what it opened at. I would look towards Missouri a little bit.
You think that number can even continue to move?
I'm looking across town right now, circa 2.5. Westgate 2.5, and South Point opened this thing 2. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are just going to say Alabama has been unstoppable. That line jumps out to me as a bit fishy. Yeah. One other game real quickly, and then we'll jump to the NFL, get back to some props, and just relitigate what we have liked. Nebraska tomorrow, folks, is coming off of about a 27-day COVID pause, but you have to remember this is baked into the price. And, it is not an auto bet. The number, I believe, is, teams, people would say, oh my gosh, I got to play Michigan State first half. Teams coming off of 2-week or more COVID pauses are covering 48% of the time in the first half.
Yeah.
So it's not an auto fire, but that is one to keep an eye on. Michigan State right now laying 11.5 against Nebraska, has not played in 4 weeks.
That's really tough. You could go one of two ways here. First of all, have they been able to practice? Has the coaching staff been able to be in the gymnasium with them when they've practiced? There's so many different factors that go into the break. That's what I would like to know. But in that situation, I would probably take the points. I would consider taking the points or not playing the game at all.
Yeah, I would lean towards passing. And, when I'm looking at teams coming off COVID breaks, like last night, Oregon was coming off of multiple COVID pauses.
Right.
They were laying 11.
Right.
Now, it was a take for Washington State. You think back to Villanova when they came off their pause. They were laying 9 against Seton Hall. A take there. But when you're seeing a massive underdog, that's where I think it gets fishy. If they're a massive favorite, that's where I think playing the team that is the dog who has played as opposed, that's where I would say is
the
more
one thing I'll say to that, though, is you cannot recreate an actual game. You can scrimmage against each other all you want to in a gym, but when a team hasn't been out there and actually played a game in almost a month, you would have to think to yourself that that's got to play a role. That's got to be a factor. You can't recreate that.
All right, Brian, before we get out of here, let's get back to some prop plays. Super Bowl 55 coming up on Sunday. Of course, wall-to-wall coverage all throughout the weekend. VSiN.com, MSG Plus for the folks in the New York area. Our guest today, James Salinas, he likes the Bucs. He likes Tom Brady to win MVP. Bucs 1 to 6-point win or Bucs 7 to 12-point win. He looks at value there. Warren Sharp, who was on the show, his favorite play, Leonard Fournette over 3.5 receptions. He also has Cameron Brate anytime touchdown. And look at Gronk's longest reception over 15.5 yards. So those were some of Warren Sharp's favorite plays. Brian, some of your favorite props and side total, whatever you want, as we wrap things up.
Well, I gave you some of my cross-sport props that I do like. I'm on the side with you. I like the Chiefs. If you really like the Chiefs, I'm saying I would not be surprised if the Chiefs won by double digits. Wow. I really wouldn't. Now, you can take them at -7.5, good plus money. You could take them at -10.5, good plus money. if you like the Chiefs, if you think the game's going to be close and you like the Chiefs, then obviously you're probably going to take the money line or the -3. I actually think that the Chiefs could win this game by double digits. It would not surprise me. So those are a few extra props that I like in this game, and I haven't really made a decision on the total. I'm certainly going to take the Chiefs just straight up -3. But again, you have to be consistent with the props, right? If you like the Chiefs to win, then you probably want to take some overs with some of those guys. And same thing, we talked about it last segment. If you like the Buccaneers to win this football game, then you probably should take Tom Brady to win the MVP. I'm on your side on this one. I'm taking Mahomes to win MVP.
Yeah, and that number has come down here at the Circa. I'll just run through my plays real quickly. I've got Kansas City on the money line, -160. I think that number can come down. So to monitor that if you like Kansas City, Mahomes to win MVP, and then Cameron Brate over 3 receptions, juice -115. Cameron Brate anytime touchdown +350, and the second half plus overtime having more points. That is at -110. It's a 1-point favorite, and also under 27.5 in the first half.
Yep.
So we will see. We'll see how the plays play out. Brian, great stuff, man.
Joy to work with you, my man.
Appreciate you coming in and bringing the good mojo. We had a head-to-head matchup. I'm up 1-0. I'm sure that lead won't last very long. For Brian Shapiro, I'm Tim Murray. Aaron Oster behind the scenes. Everyone here at Circa. Thanks to Derek Stevens. Thanks to Warren Schaap, Tony Miller, and James Salinas. Wall-to-wall coverage all weekend long. And don't miss Sunday right here on VSiN. We'll be back Monday right here on the Sports Betting Network.